Okay, we're closing mics and we're restarting the music. Because it wants to be difficult this morning, of course. We'll have open mics again in just a couple of seconds. All right, let's try that again. Here we go. Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a Monday. It's not quite manic. It's not really mellow either. It's a middling Monday is what we're going with. It's a beautiful Monday in the metro Atlanta area. Hope it's beautiful wherever you are. We got a lot of things to get into. If you want to join the conversation, the best place is on Twitch, twitch.tv/Soccer Down Here. You can jump into the Twitch pitch there. You can also tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. We'll get some tweets as we go this morning as well. You can email us if you want to go old school, soccerdownhere@gmail, and we'll get into that. DM Tim, Hot Trash Monday does not work because it's got to be an M. And DM Tim is giving me some crap because I decided to give Boca some crap last night because they have been crap for most of the season until they gave up an equalizer against Vélez and then said, oh, yeah, we're Boca Juniors. 6 unanswered goals, and they win 7-1. Maybe they needed to be trash talked. I don't know, but kind of good timing for Boca going into the Super Classico this weekend to score 7. We'll see what River does in response tonight. They've been garbage this season. They have been bad, and Vélez somehow found a way to be worse. We'll talk about bad soccer from the weekend. There was quite a few demonstrations of it. One was in Germany. One was in England. There are plenty others everywhere, but there were 2 of the worst games you will ever find in those 2 places. We'll talk about good soccer. We'll talk about derbies where Manchester City finally loses. We'll talk about Real Madrid with a late equalizer to level with Atleti. Atleti's still okay, but maybe Barcelona is the big winner of the weekend. We'll get into that out of Spain. We'll talk about the derby in Germany as well, Der Klassiker, which started one way and finished the other way. All kinds of stuff. So we're going to take your questions throughout it, too. We're kind of going to bounce around a little bit. We'll talk MLS, too, because we're getting closer and closer to preseason games actually kicking off around the league. Atlanta United's first preseason game will be in less than a week, where they play Tormenta behind closed doors in Marietta, Georgia. Do we want to start with good things, crappy things, or different things?
You want to get the crappy out of the way?
No, because I tend to think that when we start to talk about crappy things, it might go on for a minute. And we have a special guest that we have to talk about something revolving him. That's why I went with different things.
Okay.
Because it's kind of in between.
Oh, my God.
There's Jarrett Smith hanging out this morning, trying to hide from the celebrations of Rangers.
There's no hiding from any of this, but go on.
Rangers have won the Scottish Premiership, and people are now anointed.
The earliest since like the 1960s, too.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's a lot of things.
Season.
There's a lot of things that have gone on with that. Celtic avoids having it happen on their pitch by drawing at Dundee United. Now, they did put forth an effort. I was going full black helicopter, like, yeah, they're going to throw the game and like start a ball boy at center back, and they didn't. They had 12 shots on goal. They went for it. They didn't get
like
it.
Almost 30 shots in the game.
Yeah.
They actually did go for it.
Yeah.
Dundee's keeper wasn't going to give up a goal yesterday. He was on one.
Yeah, it's
more
true.
power to him.
It's true. So they lose the title. Rangers, people forgot about this thing we're all dealing with called COVID, and fans were everywhere, and the Prime Minister of Scotland is angry again. Ooh. She stays angry. Which, yeah, I mean, I can't really blame her. She has to. It's true. But here's the deal. So this is getting so overblown right now. to the point that people are already really piling on this idea that Jurgen Klopp out, Steven Gerrard in. I want to... No, don't do that, John, because a lot of big people are doing this. This is not like some random thing we're picking out that some rando said. This is the big thing that people are saying. Are they all dumb? Do they have no clue what they're talking about?
I think that they're a couple of years early.
I think they're jumping. I don't even think it's that. I think they're overblowing what's happening on two fronts.
They're in love with the moment.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
On two fronts.
It's
on
two
the
fronts.
Liverpool front and the Rangers front. They're in love with the moment on both fronts.
It's absolutely two fronts because Jurgen Klopp has not forgotten how to be a good manager. He's a good manager. Does he have to make some big adjustments here that he has not necessarily done or been willing to do? Absolutely. But to have this idea that he should go or be pushed to go is insane.
Yes.
It's absolutely insane. The idea that because of what Steven Gerrard did at Rangers, he's ready is maybe more insane. I'm going to tell you why. Jarrett, you know the Scottish game. I don't want to put you in a bad spot here, Jarrett, because people are going to think you're being a salty
Neil
Celtic
put me in
fan.
a bad spot.
He did. He put a lot of people in a bad spot, but he put Steven Gerrard in a good spot, and that's part of this.
Yes.
This is... You have to understand the top flight in Scotland. 1960.
Not much to understand.
No, you need to, because people don't. Because people are acting like this is the greatest accomplishment ever. Look, Celtic had won 9 titles in a row. Rangers had ceased to exist at one point during that. And now they're back. But when you look at the squad valuations, not even the revenues coming in, it's like Celtic plus 100 million, Rangers plus 100 million. Third, I think, is Aberdeen at like 17 million.
Yeah. Yep. It's
dramatic.
We've gone over this on Soccer Over There before. It is one of the most jarring separations of wealth in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's no surprise that since 1960, a long, long time ago, there have only been 6 seasons that Rangers or Celtic did not win the title. So when you take the whole system and you boil it down to 2 teams, you have a 50% chance to win the title. 50! Flip a freaking coin! Well, when one side of the coin is covered in the garbage that Neil Lennon gave you at Celtic for as long as he did, and it is weighed down by said garbage, you can insert whatever you want for the word garbage, what side of the coin is going to be facing up?
The other one.
Duh! So, here's what Steven Gerrard managed to do. He managed to walk through a beautiful field and not trip over a daffodil. He tripped over it last year. He didn't trip over it. They won. Good job. But he's not the second coming of Pep Guardiola because he won a 50% chance to win the league. Slow down, folks. I know he's a legend at Liverpool. I get it. He's got a couple of years of managerial experience, and he won a toss-up league when the other team in the toss-up was horrendous.
Uh-huh.
Can I preface this by saying how much Jason hates Celtic right now? So I want y'all to understand this.
Yes!
He has a burning hatred for Celtic because I made him watch a game this year. So,
more than one.
Yeah, well, that's your fault.
It is.
I only suggested the Hearts game.
This is why we didn't start.
And I've seen them in European competition, and they're frustrating as hell.
Yeah, and here's the other
Nick
one,
had
too.
to watch them when they played AC Milan.
Yeah, here's the other one everybody's excited about with Rangers making a run in Europe. They haven't beaten anybody that they shouldn't have beaten. They haven't lost to anybody that they should have beaten. So, again, didn't trip over the daffodils. Good. Yay.
Yippee.
But let's slow down, because if, and this is a giant if Liverpool makes a decision Klopp's time is over. He's lost the team. He's lost the locker room. Mo Salah's pouting. We got to deal with that. He's lost it. We got to get rid of Jurgen Klopp. Let's go get Stevie G. If that happens, it would be the worst move that Liverpool has made in 20 to 30 years. It would be catastrophic because he's not ready for that. And the expectations are far greater than they were at Chelsea when they put Frank Lampard in that position.
Yep.
It would be catastrophic. Liverpool, don't be catastrophic. Don't be silly. Jarrett, you want to talk about Scotland for a minute now that I've rained on everybody's parade?
I mean, what is there? Like, we'll do this quick. We can dive deeper on this on soccer over there.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Still soccer down here, so we'll make this quick. Scotland is a 2-horse race. The last time somebody won the league, other than them, I believe, was either Hibs or Aberdeen in the 80s.
Aberdeen, like 84.
Yeah, I believe it was 83 or 84. It is a 2-horse race. It's been a 2-horse race. Last year was where you started to sense that, we're back to being a 2-horse race because Rangers kind of had their feet. They had the lead in the league actually after Christmas and then proceeded to lose 4 out of 9 games after the new year. And in the season, you'll hear a lot of Celtics never won a title and all this with Rangers, wasn't either rebuilding or out of the top flight. I mean, they were not bad last year. That team beat Braga in Europa League round of 32, got wiped out by Leverkusen, but that's just part of living in Scotland. You're going to get wiped out by somebody most likely, but they were down 13 points in the league last year when the league shut down for COVID after having the lead in the league, or I think they had the lead there. They were right there with Celtic at Christmas. They completely imploded in the past. They didn't implode this year. They also didn't really have any pressure on them to do anything other than just keep doing what they're doing. Yeah. Once Stevie G figured out how to break down a low block in Scotland, it was pretty much all over at that front for them. There's still some disappointment for them. I think this year, that's still going to be your only trophy. You lost to, I believe it was St. Mirren in a cup semi or quarterfinal, so you could have had a cup before now.
Hey, they could win the Europa League, Jarrett.
They could. They could. We'll see. I want to see if they can defend in Europe because God knows they can score on anybody. Mm-hmm. Rangers will drop a bunch of goals on you in a minute. They're also going to let you drop a bunch of goals. It's a very generous system upon which they are built.
Just to show you in Scotland the season, I mean, they've scored 77 in 32 games. That's pretty ridiculous. They've conceded 9 in Scotland. Yeah. And they're not a great defensive team, by the way, as we've seen in Europe.
They are in Scotland because the standards are different.
Exactly.
But they are not great defensively. That is an accurate statement. You go watch them in Europe. Go watch what they did to, who were they playing? Antwerp.
Royal Antwerp, yeah.
Go watch against Royal Antwerp where they're just 5-2
and 4-3.
Yeah, I mean, but you go watch those games. They're end to end. It wasn't a matter of man, Royal Antwerp just got a couple. No, even late in that game at Antwerp, Rangers were just kind of defending is a theory, right? It's just a theoretical process.
It's on a piece of paper.
Basically.
Pretty much.
They're fine. They're good. They deserved to win the league for what they did this year. They also got they got a cakewalk in their favor, much in the way that Celtic has in a lot of senses for the last 9+ years. And they took it. They did exactly what they should have done. But let's slow the roll here. Maybe Steven Gerrard is a great manager. I'm not really sure right now. I know we've had the arguments about Lampard versus Gerrard. And maybe Stevie G is a great manager. Maybe he is one of the next great managers. I don't really know. And I don't think Rangers rolling Scotland and brushing aside an imploding Celtic team really tells us a lot in the same sense that Neil Lennon, rolling aside Scotland, didn't tell us that he was a great manager when he was at Celtic. Because we've seen that answer.
So how many games are left in the Scottish season? I know it gets weird. The
split's coming up. So if you're not familiar, the split is amazing in Scotland. They take at the end of right before the end of the season, the last 5 or 6. Amazing doesn't always mean great, Jason. The end of the season, they take the last 5 or 6 games and they split the They basically split the table, and the top teams will all play each other, and then the bottom teams will play each other. They basically just split the table, so you'll get it is fun in the sense that if there was ever an actual good race in Scotland, like you get England, where it might be 4 or 5 teams going for it. Imagine if England did this, where England got to the end of the season and said, "Hey, we're going to split the schedule. The top 5 teams have to play each other, and every game has high leverage." That'd be fun.
It'd be interesting.
It would be a lot of things. I think it would be fun. I've also completely lost my mind at this point.
That's typical.
Yeah, it's far for the course. It's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
But they've got the split coming up. I'm not even sure how many games are left. I'm honestly going to be watching. I'm going to be watching for because I want to see what Rangers does in Europe, because I want to see if they can actually not give up 25 goals.
Yeah, and that's coming up too. Now, really quick. So, correct me if I'm wrong. They play Celtic not this weekend, but the 21st.
It is this weekend.
Yeah, 21st.
Oh, 21st. Whatever. Time's irrelevant.
Okay. They have the 2 games with Slavia Prague in between. Then they do the split, and I think they play 5 games. So they'll play 38 in the season. You play everybody 3 times, and then you do the split, and you play 5 more, I guess.
Yeah.
Argentina's crazy. Scotland's almost close to as crazy with the way their format is.
You could probably argue that Scotland got some of their... I would not be surprised if we found out that time that Celtic went and played Racing, that they were like, how do you do this? Okay, we can take this and we can make it dumber.
It's pretty ridiculous, yes. So Rangers and Slavia Prague, that'll start this week. Europa League's this week. Champions League is back this week. We'll get into all of that. Let's go ahead and finish up the 2 bad games from the weekend that I hope you didn't watch. I know some people
let friends watch bad games.
Don't do it. But sometimes if you're a fan of a team that is bad and you're trying to watch them get out of being bad, and you're hoping that they won't be bad, and then they're still bad. Looking at you Newcastle fans and Alex Basine, I'm sorry. Newcastle's horrendous, and I heard Steve Bruce trying to act like he had a great performance in this game. He was very happy with the point. They are banged up. They are, I get it, but you can't come out after that game that was that bad and act like anything was good about it. That's an insult to your fan base. But it's a good thing that they don't have something like kicker in England, because kicker eviscerated the Schalke Mainz game from the weekend. They rate games. They've rated since 1992 when they introduced this, 8,783 games. There's only 6 times that a game has gotten the worst possible rating. The Schalke Mainz game got it with a scoreless draw.
This feels like when they rate wrestling matches.
Yeah, it's the same kind of idea, and it's just like
more tragic.
You get a 5-star rating, and it's like, oh wow, there's only a few of these. There's only a few of the worst possible ratings. Coco, people watch Schalke Mainz. Schalke and Mainz. Well, Schalke has a bigger fan base. Mainz not as big of a fan base. People watched it, unfortunately, because it was awful. People. I don't know. I hope more people didn't watch Newcastle and West Brom, because it was awful too. I mean, I don't know which one's better or worse, but they were both
Define
horrendous.
your terms.
They were both horrendous.
Yes.
But it happens. It's just where it goes. Ragamuffin Wrestling is scripted. Fake is not the proper term.
It is sports entertainment.
You're going to make John cry if you say that.
Oh, no, it ain't crying. Them's fighting words.
Them's fighting words.
I mean, there is a difference, because
there is a huge difference.
Because I used to work with a guy who did like amateur wrestling back in the dark ages, and as he told me once, he said it's very much scripted. He said, but there's a difference between scripted and fake, because you can't fake it when somebody throws you through a table, even if the table is designed to break.
Yes,
correct, absolutely correct. All right, there were 3 big games on the weekend. More than 3, but there were 3 big derbies or clásicos. Spain had the Madrid derby. Atleti is in pole position, but I don't think they really gained anything here. They did what I thought they would do, honestly. A loss they couldn't afford to have. They took an early lead on a Luis Suarez goal. They were not able to hold it up, and you got a Karim Benzema equalizer late. So, top of the table now. Atleti still has the game in hand. They've got a 3-point lead on Barcelona, who won on the weekend. And even though it was the Madrid derby, everybody's talking about that yesterday. Barcelona won the weekend because they're 3 points back. Yes, game in hand for Atleti, but they've jumped Real Madrid. They have a new president who has not been arrested lately, which is a step in the right direction.
Yes, it is.
Progress.
It's progress. Joan Laporta has a lot to do, but things look good about Barcelona now. Things are looking positive. Joan Laporta has been in this role before, from 2003 to 2010. You think about that time. There was 2 Champions League wins with 2 different managers. It started the Pep Guardiola era. It was there, or Joan Laporta was there when La Masia was really starting to produce a ton of talent. Makes a lot of sense. And he won in a pretty much a landslide. No real surprise there. Players voted in the elections on Sunday. Lionel Messi, for the first time, voted, which gives a lot of people hope that Lionel Messi is going to stay at Barcelona. Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, Luis Enrique, current manager of Spain, he voted. This was a big, big deal. Marca had a list of the 6 big challenges for Laporta to deal with. Re-signing Messi, which I'd say the odds of that happening have gone up now. The structure that he's got to build, and I'm sure he's got these plans already in place. He just hasn't been super public with it. The CEO, the sporting director, that kind of stuff. The transfer market, they got to bring in some money, but they also have to re-sign Ansu Fati, Ousmane Dembele. They got to sell Coutinho somehow. Maybe sell Umtiti. Maybe bring in Aguero on a free transfer. That was talked about if Messi stays. Ronald Koeman wants Eric Garcia, which would be on a free. Wijnaldum, which would be on a free. Memphis Depay, which I think would be on a free. Mm-hmm. Okay, the frees are fine, and you can bring in some talent, but you got to bring in some cash because debt is a huge issue here. 1 billion in debt in euros, 700 million in euros short term. They need cash now, so they've got to sell some players. That's going to be a very tricky thing, but they've got to maintain quality because they need the Champions League money too. They need these things to come in, or you're going to be screwed in the long term. They also need to bring back familiar faces to the club. One thing I did not know is Carlos Puyol told Bartomeu, no, I'm not going to work for the club while he was there. Maybe that changes. Xavi is one who is coming off of a league title in Qatar. Al Sadd won a title, his first league title. Does Xavi come back into play? Ronald Koeman's kind of doing a good job right now. It's a little hard to trash Ronald Koeman at the moment. And then there's also this huge redevelopment project that they've got to deal with while they're broke. I don't know how that's going to work with redeveloping everything around Camp Nou. Laporta would like to get it done to coincide with the club's 125th anniversary in 2024. I have no idea how that happens unless you sell everything you can possibly sell except for the club itself to bring in that kind of money. Will asks, do you think that they'll sell some of these players that they need to sell for less than value? Yeah, I do. I think the ones that they see as surplus to what they need, yes, they will sell for less than value. For example, if they're able, Coutinho, for example, they go get Memphis Depay on a free and they're going to pay him X. They'll be happy to get rid of Coutinho for less because you replaced him already. So if they can do that, they will. They have to. It's just where it is. I'm wondering if there's maybe somebody bigger because I don't see a huge transfer fee coming in for Coutinho. I don't know of anybody else that they could do a big transfer fee on, unless you're going to give up somebody you don't want to, like an Ansu Fati, maybe Dembele. It's tough, but you got to bring in cash. And it's a good week in Barcelona because at a minimum, as Ricky says, when you've been in the dark so long, any glimmer of light looks really bright. And that is 100% true. You have a good president back in place. You're in a good place in the league. Now, you've got Champions League coming up, and you got to overturn a big deficit against PSG, but crazier things have happened. You know, things are looking better in Barcelona, but there's still a lot of clouds on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, you've won 9 of your last 10 in league. and you have just shot up the standings. And I know that you're 3 points back with a match. You've played a further match than Atleti has. But right now you're in a groove. At least on the field, you're in a serious groove. But those 6 things that you mentioned, that's a lot of work that's got to get done. And when you're looking at debt and you're looking at bringing in players on a free, that's great. You still got to pay them. I just wonder, when it comes to those players that you think that you're going to have to regretfully part with because you're going to need the cash. You mentioned Ansu Fati, you mentioned Dembele. I think that
no, I'm not mentioning. No, I'm not mentioning they would be sold. I'm mentioning, like, right now you want to extend their deals. You're going to have to potentially sell somebody that you don't want to. Those two you want to extend. They're not up for sale right now. Don't get that twisted.
Fati with, as young as Fati is with his upside, I think that you want to hang on to somebody like that.
Of course, but I think you absolutely do. That's yes. There's nothing to say that they want to sell Ansu Fati. Let's make that 100,000,000% clear right now. Yes, they want to hold on to him.
Yeah. But I think that you're going to have to part with somebody that you're not going to want to necessarily part with, but because you have to. I think that you're going to have to. There's going to be, I think, one transaction at least that is going to be one that you don't want to, but you gotta, because of all of the debt that you have and all of the money that you've got to try to bring in house, so you can get on the other side of where you are right now.
Well, I mean, I'll ask Barcelona fans. You look at the valuations right now of who you have. Messi, different conversation because he's out of contract and you can't sell him for anything right now. Ansu Fati is next, valued at $88 million. Ter Stegen, $82.5 million. Frankie de Jong, $71.5. Griezmann, $66. Coutinho, $55. Dembele, $55. Pedri, which you are not going to sell, $55. Pjanic, $44. Lenglet, $44. Then you're down into the 20s with Jordi Alba, Sergio Roberto, Serginho Dest. Out of those guys that are 50 million plus in their valuations, who are you most comfortable and who is the most realistic to sell? I mean, Coutinho sounds like the winner here, but is there a buyer? Griezmann, I wonder if you could sell him for anything resembling the money you would like. And I don't think you want to, but if the offer came that was something you couldn't turn down on a De Jong or a Ter Stegen, I'm thinking those might be the ones. De Jong could be the one for me because you've got other players potentially emerging in that role, and you might have to make that one. That's the one that you don't want to, but you might have to because you could actually make it work. But Barcelona's got to bring in cash.
Yes.
And they've still got to be good. Like, that's the problem, is they can't just punt the season. They've got to be good. It's tough. Sam Williamson says Piqué and Dembele. Dembele, if you can get a return, yeah, I agree. Piqué, there's no return. You signed him to a new deal. He's going to finish out his career there. There's just nothing. Johannes thinks Griezmann could still command a decent-sized transfer. He had a good run here for a while. If he can continue it, perhaps. Barcelona will be waiting to see what happens with the big names this summer. Obviously, they've got one to deal with Messi.
Yeah.
They've got, another one that they're looking at with what happens with Mbappe. They've got another one that they're looking at to see what happens with Erling Haaland. When those kind of get dealt with, then what? Does Liverpool, do they move on from Mo Salah? Because it doesn't look like it's a good relationship at the moment. Do they move on? And would they be interested in a Griezmann? Maybe. If they don't get Mbappe, maybe. I think Barcelona might be able to jump into that. Bernd, as a Barcelona fan, says, I want them to rebuild around the younger players. Reduce the budget so you can afford to miss Champions League and build for the future. And yes, please sell De Jong. He's not very good. I think he's not a good fit. I think he's good, but I don't think he's a good fit, and they don't really have time to ride it out. I think they have to make Champions League. I know what you're saying, Bernd, and I get it, but I think the amount of money you make from Champions League is so critical that they've got to walk that line between, rebuilding around younger players, but also still making Champions League. They can do that in Spain. They can do that with what they have. They absolutely can. They can be fourth in the table as opposed to second in the table, make Champions League, still bring in that cash, and be okay. And I think that's the tightrope act you got to walk. It's Brett. Thanks for joining us, my friend. Current financial climate is volatile and unpredictable for everyone. Teams do have money, but can't really see many big transfers happening. I think Haaland and Mbappe are the two that could, but I mean, we're talking about PSG, we're talking about City, we're talking about other English clubs. I think Chelsea's going to go after at least one of them. Potentially Manchester United, Liverpool could be in this mix. Like that's about it. Real Madrid will try to get one. I don't know if they'll be able to pull it off. When those guys are gone, then what? And there could be moves made in the second level, but then there could also be a lot of like $20, $30 million moves, stuff like that. Sam Williamson says, would they try to bring Pep back? They might, but they won't. I don't think he's going back anytime soon. I don't know if he manages at Barcelona again. I could see him maybe taking a sporting director job there later on in his career if he wants to. But I don't know really what he could do that he hasn't done at Barcelona. It'd be a step back for him. So I don't think he takes it. I think they want him to bless the project, essentially. I think they want his good vibes towards it, which is good. I think they bring Xavi in, Sam, is where I think they do. I don't think they do it yet because, look, we got to be real here. Ronald Koeman has them in second. Ronald Koeman, had to let guys go before the season started. He hasn't been able to get the players he wanted because they have no money. He's had 1,000,001 things to deal with. He's got them in a pretty good spot. Champions League is disappointing with the loss to PSG, but league, I mean, they're not out of it at all. They could win the league. If they win the league, I don't think you can move on from Ronald Koeman. Depends on how long Xavi. I mean, Xavi's in a place in Qatar where it's not like he's going to go anywhere else, I don't think. I think he can basically be the coach in waiting, and you ride it out with Koeman as long as it goes. And when it turns
out, hire Stevie G.
Xavi. Sure, Stevie G's the best ever because he won a title with Rangers. Hire him.
There you go.
He's the greatest. He won a title against a dysfunctional team that could barely tie its own shoes. Yay. Good for Stevie G.
This does kind of throw a knot into my idea, though, of like Marcelo Gallardo eventually going to a place like Barcelona where
Xavi will get it first.
Where it might be like hey, we need to kind of rebuild things, except now that won't happen. Which makes me sad because I want to see Gallardo on like a big stage.
Well,
but maybe it'll come.
Well, I'll whisper this for folks. Marcelo Gallardo would be a better fit at Real Madrid.
Either one's fine with me.
He'd be a better fit at Madrid.
I'm excited about the idea of seeing him in on a huge stage, and that's not to diminish Argentina's stage, but it's going to be maligned by Euro snobs. So,
well, I mean, Barcelona's not, or Argentina's not Scotland in that it's not solely two teams, but Boca and River dominate the landscape there. You do have other teams win league titles because they have 50 bazillion league titles every couple of years.
I was about to say,
so other people do win trophies.
Than anything.
Yes. They don't have any kind of a split to the season where it just reinforces the top teams being top teams. No, they
God, that would be even better if you just started having splits in Argentina.
No, they just play 13-game seasons and then have a playoff. That's what's amazing. So I think Gallardo will not be there at the end of 2021. His contract runs through 21. I think he'll see that out. I don't think he'll go anywhere in the summer unless Real Madrid opens up and they get ambitious. Marcelo Gallardo should not be the typical South American manager who has to go to a smaller team first and prove himself. No, he send him. If he's ready, he should go. If Real Madrid comes calling, go. I don't know if that's going to happen now. It's been back and forth about Zidane and Madrid in the future. Who knows? PSG
Zidane has to be so exhausted. He has to be.
He has to, but I mean, what else is he going to do? Because I think the next job for Zinedine Zidane is the French national team, but he's not going to get that right now. So does he want to, sit on a beach? Maybe he might, but I think he will continue working if they will have him continue working. We'll see where the rest of the year goes.
After the last few years of Real Madrid, a beach sounds great.
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. If he has to deal with Gareth Bale back in his team next year, he might want to opt for the beach instead. That didn't seem to go well. But anyway, Gallardo going to Europe. Yeah, I want to see him go to a big club. I'm with you there. Barcelona's going to have people in-house because Laporta's going to turn to the old faces. Laporta's going to bring the old favorites back. Xavi will be the next manager at Barcelona. It'll happen. Just don't know when. And it shouldn't happen while Ronald Koeman is doing the job he's doing. I think we all have to apologize to Ronald Koeman. He's done a good job this year. With all the madness, he's done a good job.
I'm just going to start calling Barcelona Fox 97. They're trying to find the good times with great oldies.
But they always do that, Jared. Like, this is nothing new. Like, you say that like it's a bad thing.
No, I'm not. It's not a bad thing.
Okay.
It's just where I am with them.
People take it as a bad thing, but it's not.
No, because it works.
Mm-hmm.
I bet this show me it doesn't work.
So is Joan Laporta Randy or Spiff?
I'm going to defer to John.
Wow.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Just pick one, John.
Well, no, I figure...
We're going to overthink this.
Yeah, this has already been overthought. Good job.
No, John and I are both overthinking it. I can tell you right now.
No question. Yeah, you can hear the gears grinding in my head.
Jeez, why did I ask?
I figure that... so that means that probably Koeman is Randy and Xavi is Spiff.
There you go.
Sure, I'll take
that. I
that.
got done a lot faster than Jason was expecting. So.
It needed to be a lot faster than it was. Speaking of managers, I think everybody needs to apologize to. Ole. We still trashing Ole? Is it still Ole out?
But we haven't trashed him, though. Everyone else has.
We still need to see people apologize to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
No doubt.
The guy has Manchester United, in my opinion, ahead of schedule. They were not supposed to be where they are. They are not going to win the title. Manchester City will. That we can throw that out. I'm still upset with Ole for his comments about referees, and he made them again before the game yesterday, and it was completely unnecessary. Coco refuses to apologize to Ole. See, that's the problem. People have trashed this man and say he's no good and he should be fired. He's sitting in second. His team is not having the problems that we've seen out of Brendan Rodgers' crew at Leicester, who's in third. No real talk about Brendan Rodgers being in third. Chelsea fired their manager, Frank Lampard. Now Tommy Tuchel's come in, and he's doing pretty good. Everton has had their bumps in the road. Nobody's yelling about Carlo. People started to talk about Jose, but they were talking about Ole way before that. I mean, what's the guy have to do to not get trashed?
Win a league title.
Yeah.
It's not really fair.
No,
it's not fair.
Totally unrealistic, but that's what because it's Manchester United, you've got to win a league title.
Oh, no, John. No, I thoroughly disagree with something you just said.
What?
It's unrealistic that Manchester United should expect to win a league title?
No. The expectation this year is what in the present tense is what I'm looking at.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
That's the important part because they are not ready for it yet.
Mm-mm.
They're a little bit ahead of schedule. I thought they'd be competing for fourth. They're going to be competing for second. That's good. Okay, next year, yeah. The expectation is massive, but they get the win yesterday. I mean, don't overthink this. City, it's problems. It's problems. No, it's not. They lost a game for the first time in like 3 months. It happens. It happens. Manchester United gets the win. Good for them. It's good. It doesn't change anything about the league positioning. City's got the title. Manchester United, I think, if anything, this gives them far greater chance to finish second. Cool. It's a great win for Manchester United. It's something they can build on. And we'll see if they do in Europa League against Milan this week.
I love penalties in the first 45 seconds of a game. That's how I can always know that I need to get the top shelf liquor.
Had no business. I mean, he was off the back heel, and you could tell that John Stones and the rest of that back line, they were going with the play. They had it under control, and then Gabriel Jesus just kind of, he sits there and he wants to be a part of it. And they called it, what do they call it, a striker's tackle?
Yes. Yeah. I believe so.
So, and that's what it was, and that set everything in motion there. But yeah, I mean, it was a situation that was under control, and Gabriel Jesus jumped into it, and you get the penalty in the first minute.
He uncontrolled it.
I need to know what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did to everybody in the soccer world. The man sits and smiles most of the time. He seems like a very nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we get comments such as from the Twitch pitch? Of course, Ragamuffin is still salty
yes.
because Liverpool has been a flaming dumpster of smelly expired foods for a long time.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's true. So, of course, we're going to get a shot there. That's fine. Oh, what does Ole need to do? He needs to win something. He needs to have the talent on his team to win something, and he needs to look at the people in the offices above his and all that. But yes, okay, sure, he does. Coco says he finally played.
This is exactly what I said about Steven Gerrard before this year, because he hadn't won. Like, everyone kept talking about what he had done at Rangers, this, that, and the other. Like, until this, he hadn't won anything. I mean, he'd been washing out of cups when he had like golden opportunities to win trophies. Like, Celtic gets blown out by Ross County, and then Rangers goes and gets blown out by or not blown out, they get beat by St. Mirren. Like, same thing. Like, I need you to win trophies because it means a lot more there than it does at, say, Manchester United, where it's harder to win a trophy.
Yes, Steven Gerrard won a trophy that was a coin flip, and one side of the coin was covered in crap. He won the coin flip. Good job. Ole would, if he wins the league, then I think people would really need to shut up. He does need to win something, Ragamuffin, but I think that's next year, not this year. Coco says he finally played a top 6 team and didn't play them to a scoreless draw or a 1-1 draw. Congrats. They're in second. I mean, what do you want?
I love how salty all of you are this morning.
What do you want? Soul. I don't know what. Okay, yes, the record against top 6 hasn't been great. They're still in second. So what is everybody else doing against everybody else? I don't know. Will says Man United is the Texas of Europe, followed by Coco saying they're the Dallas Cowboys of Europe, which I think both are accurate.
Yeah.
The thing is, and Burned won't apologize for trashing Ole. What did Ole do to everybody? Man!
So does that make Ed Woodward Jerry Jones?
No, we're not playing the stupid analogy game. You guys stop it.
The idea of Ed Woodward walking around the grounds with a mint julep.
It would explain why he hasn't given him a. It would explain why he hasn't given him a roster to work with for years. Anyway, Coco says Manchester United makes a lot of noise and raises expectations on themselves. Has an obnoxious fan base and loves underperforming when it matters most. I present to you the Dallas Cowboys. Man, wow. Byrne won't apologize for trashing Ole. When Man U, one of the 3 biggest clubs in the world, plays like a scared mid-table team, then you trash him. He doesn't need to win the league, but you can't play like that if you're Manchester United. That's wrong. I agree with that. I agree. He needs to start opening up more. I think he still doesn't have the talent that some other teams around him does. I think he's outperforming other teams right now. I do. But that excuse only goes so far. And you're going to need to be what Manchester United has been, which I think is what Byrne is hitting at. You've got to be a team on the front foot soon, and I think it's next year. Because it's the conversation we always have. If you play exciting, entertaining soccer and lose, you're going to have a little bit longer leash. If you play bad soccer and lose, you're not going to last very long. If you play bad soccer and win, or counter-attacking soccer, or more negative soccer, or more defensive soccer, we can lump all them into the pot over here. If you do that and win, it's good until you start losing, and then it turns. The thing that Ole's been able to do that I think has kind of helped him right now is whenever they do have a bump in the road, there's been a good response almost immediately after, and they've bounced back. You do need to see more, I agree. I think he's got to deal with the Pogba situation and probably get him on his way somewhere because it hangs over it. I don't know. Maybe they've repaired everything by now. With Mino Raiola involved, I don't think you can. I think you do need a little more talent. You need an elite number 9. Cavani was a great pickup for what you did, but you shouldn't be in that position. Ed Woodward has to do a better job building the team. I actually think Ole's getting as much out of this group as you can. But long term, I do agree with what Byrne's saying. Like, you've got to take that step to being more of a team that imposes their will on a match as opposed to being a great counterattacking team. That's not as acceptable at Manchester United. They've had to do it because of the talent they have, because Ed Woodward ran them like a lesser team. We'll see. They've signed a bunch of young guys. Okay, great. That makes it seem like they're going to give him time. But he needs a number 9. He needs an elite number 9 for next season, I think. And I mean, Cavani's 33?
Yeah.
If you have a chance to go get Erling Haaland, cut the check.
Yeah.
Cut the check. Then we're having a whole different conversation about expectations.
No, I think what we've seen this season is when you brought in Bruno Fernandes, when you had Bruno Fernandes paired with another person, whether it was Pogba or whomever, you could see really Manchester United, they were humming and they were doing those things that a lot of folks were calling for. But without a Pogba in the lineup, a lot of folks defensively try to pin down Bruno Fernandes, and that causes a lot of offensive issues for Manchester United. You need that player to pair with Bruno Fernandes consistently so you can get the results and get that exciting brand of soccer that folks are looking for, get the goals that they're scoring, the 2, the 3 goal games, those kinds of things. You need that secondary person to be with Bruno Fernandes, otherwise they're easy to pin down.
You need the primary person. You need Bruno Fernandes to be the secondary. Bruno's a great player. You need a top goal scorer.
Yeah.
You need a top goal scorer. You need the primary person and have Bruno be more of the secondary person. Of course, the Auburn/Chelsea fan is going to compare Manchester United to Alabama.
Oh.
Domer. It's not bad, though.
Wow.
It's not bad. Says everybody hates him. Yeah. I get it coming from that perspective.
So then I guess Domer thinks that Ole's like Mike Dubose or something, or Bill Curry or something?
You're going to references that nobody knows what you're talking about, John. What year?
Old mediocre
years?
college coaches at great programs down here.
What years? We're going into the 80s here.
80s and 90s.
80s and 90s. Alabama coaches. Thank you, John. Man, Mike DuBose. I never thought Mike DuBose would be mentioned on this show.
So does that mean that? Does that mean Louis Van Gaal was the Dennis Franchione era?
That wasn't an era, was it?
It was an error.
Error. That. I don't think Louis Van Gaal did anything with a credit card. Just saying. Now we're getting all the back and forth between different people and the Twitch pitch and their teams, and the Liverpool fans are throwing shade here.
What I'm hearing here is Rush Probst for Manchester United.
No. The Liverpool fans are throwing shade at the Chelsea fans. The Chelsea fans are throwing shade at the Manchester United fans. Everybody's throwing their shade
it's a vicious circle.
They're ignoring the things about their own clubs that have to do with all of this as well.
Your team.
Yes, it's hilarious. We're going to get... You guys can keep fighting, and we're going to get to some points that are being made. Coco says Pogba should try to go back to Juve. Going back to France would be interesting. PSG would be an interesting spot. Mino Raiola is going to want to check, so I think he's going to go, and I think it's time. You just can't have that hanging over everybody's head. It's too much. It is tribalism down here. It has turned into Manic Monday, Hutcho. That is absolutely true. People are asking who from Manchester United would be the Dennis Franchione era. Hopefully there hasn't been one. Will wants Rich Rod to Manchester United. Mazzano is going with recruiting violations down here as the show title. Yes. Now, Ragamuffin asks, can we all agree that we hate Manchester City? Everybody in this fan base who listen to this show, I don't know if we have a City hardcore fan.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
I don't think we do.
I don't hate them, but I also don't really love or hate anyone in England.
You hate everybody in England, Jarrett. Let's be real.
I don't. Yeah, it's not the same kind of hatred that I have. It's almost like an apathetic hatred of who do I get to dislike this week. It's more of the mentality than the actual teams I hate, though.
Okay, Chiefs coach Steve is a City fan. Sorry, Domer. He is not
That's
chimed
fine.
in as of yet. Jarrett, no, it's not an apathetic hate with you. It's a hate. It's just it is a different hate from somebody that is like your blood rival. But you hate everything in England, basically.
I mean, I will die making fun of the "it's coming home" thing for sure. So
Yeah, you bring that up on a daily basis. It's true.
I never got it, and because like y'all got one title in '66, wasn't the first one. You didn't host the first one. How can it come home? It's like, okay, you want to take it back to '66? Cool. That's not it's coming home. That's it's coming to a pit stop we took off at a rest station outside of like Vidalia, Georgia.
Well, I thought you were going to say like on the Florida Turnpike, where you have those travel islands. You just kind of sit there, you drift in, you fuel up, you get your Slurpee, and you move on.
Oh, God. We need a brew through in Georgia, speaking of which.
Maybe.
Jason's thinking about it.
I'm thinking
Yeah,
about
he
it.
is.
I'm thinking about it.
Put some tape on the straw so they can give you the nod and the wink of, don't open this till you get home.
Oh, jeez. We are going to be doing a show from a brewery, by the way, Jared. That is
there
a
you
good
go. There we
segue
go.
on Thursday.
Yes.
And we've got a couple little updates about our show over at Wild Heaven. First off, if you are not comfortable going out to places for shows, for events, what have you, totally get it. You can watch on Twitch. You can be involved in the show on Twitch. We will be doing a Q&A in the last hour of the show. We will also be giving away a $50 gift card to Wild Heaven Brewery on Twitch for people who are watching on Twitch. We do ask you to go buy some Wild Heaven beer to enjoy with it, or if you don't drink beer, whatever else you enjoy. But yes, we will be doing a contest for those of you who are watching virtually. There will be a $50 gift card given at Wild Heaven as well. Wild Heaven is doing dollar drafts for the happy hour before the show from 5 to 6. So if you want to come out early, buck of beer, pretty good. Make sure you have a designated driver.
Yes.
Some water afterwards, all these things. It's going to be around 100 people, which this is a room that can fill, I think, upwards of right about 1,000. So it is going to be very spaced out. It is supposed to be really nice weather-wise, so it's like the big garage doors will be open. All the Atlanta United supporters groups will be out. Lloyd's Soccer Shop will be out. They will have a table to sell some swag. They'll have some Atlanta United gear. Lots of stuff along with this. Sanjay Patel of Soccer in the Streets will be there. He will be our guest at 6:30. We're going to talk about station soccer. I'm going to probably talk some Liverpool trash at him because he's a gigantic Liverpool fan. But we're going to talk about Soccer in the Streets and everything that is going on with them. There will be a fundraising component of the sales at the brewery that night that will go towards Soccer in the Streets as well. So it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a fun show. It will be a live Soccer Down Here show. It'll be a 2-hour show starting at 6 o'clock. If you can't join us on site, watch on Twitch, as you normally do, and be involved in it there. We'll take your questions, but we will also have a giveaway for you. So, water, yes, KFC. Beer, yes, beer is good. And we will be giving away things for you to get more beer down the road if you're a big fan of Wild Heaven. So, thank you to Scott Flood, the Flood Project, for putting all this together. We've got more shows coming up all over the area, and it's not just the Atlanta area coming up. We'll be up in Dalton next month, hanging out with Chattanooga Red Wolves. They'll get us ready for their upcoming season. We will be down in Macon later in the summer. We will be down in Savannah later in the year. We will be everywhere. Going to be over in Athens a few times. Lots of things coming with SDH shows on the road. Most of them will be on Thursdays, but there will be a couple others that'll get mixed in. And yes, slowly starting to get back to normal, but it will be very thoughtful about protocols and spaced out. And we're working with places that have been doing this. Wild Heaven has been doing this once they figured out how they could do it safely, and they put a lot of thought into doing it safely. And they've done events, and they do a great job with them, and they have a huge space to do them in. So, yes, absolutely. Ventilation, number one. We're right there with you, Bernd. And that's the key here. So, live shows, live stuff, lots of SDH things growing this year. But if you want to come out early on Thursday, dollar draft beers. That's always a good thing. I like it.
it's going to be good to get back out.
Yeah, it's going to be good just to see people from a distance.
Yes,
it's going to be good to do a show in a different space with people at a distance. It's just it's fun to do. It's something we had set up to do last year. We couldn't. We're getting closer. I mean, we still have to be careful. And like I say, like if you are not comfortable, don't do it. Don't come out. If you're waiting until you get the vaccine, wait till you get the vaccine. And even then, still be careful. Like that's the thing is we all got to be careful to deal with this. But yeah, we're all figuring out what we can do and doing it. And we're doing what we can. So be careful. We will see y'all as we are able to see you, and we'll see you on Twitch if we can't see you in person. That's the fun of it. We can do these things on Twitch, too. All right, couple on this days before John gives us his world-famous read, and you can grade him, and he's already stretching for it for some reason. Birthdays in the soccer world. 2 in MLS, Alan Pulido of Sporting Kansas City, 30. Harris Medunjanin of FC Cincinnati, 36. A legend in Peruvian soccer and in Old North American Soccer League, Fort Lauderdale Strikers legend Teofilo Cubillas. 72 years old. Came to the NASL maybe at the end of his prime. I mean, he was one who came fairly younger and played in the various iterations of the Strikers for years into the late 80s and early 90s after the NASL died. But Cubillas is one of the greatest players from South America ever. Somebody that doesn't get talked about a ton, doesn't get talked about enough. Teofilo Cubillas, 72. U.S. men's national team legend. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Greenville Triumph manager John Harkes, 54 years old today.
Also hanging out over your right shoulder in bobblehead form.
Yes, there's a bobble John Harkes back there. On the music front on this day, 2 of the biggest, best albums of the 90s were released on this day in 1994.
Oh, wow.
Soundgarden's Super Unknown. 9 Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral. Soundgarden was number 1 on the charts the next week. Downward Spiral was number 2. John, who do you like more, Soundgarden or 9 Inch Nails?
Soundgarden.
Jarrett, who do you like more, Soundgarden or 9 Inch Nails?
9 Inch Nails.
I'm with Jarrett. No offense, Soundgarden, but...
Yeah, it's no offense to Soundgarden at all. It's the matter of I really like 9 Inch Nails.
Yes.
Although I give a lot of credit to everything that happened with the ability of a lot of those artists to put together multiple groups where you had, Soundgarden, you had Temple the Dog, you had Audioslave, which for all of its, I call it chaotic creative differences, when you put basically everyone but Zach De La Roca from Rage into a room with Chris Cornell.
It's good. But yeah,
it was good. It always felt like a time bomb.
It was. I mean, it was for a lot of reasons. But
yeah,
Trent Reznor, Down Inch Nails. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Downward Spiral's not one of my favorites of theirs. There's other albums I like better, but between those two, I'm going Downward Spiral. 93 on this
between
day.
All that, I'm leaving. So bye.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Bye.
There's not a good transition out of here.
No, I could have transitioned
you jump in unsuspectingly anyway, so you jump out. You should be just as unsuspecting.
I know, but I figure I'd be polite.
I could have transitioned you with Beavis and Butthead, Jarrett.
See, that was never my thing.
Yeah, 93.
Never loved it.
It debuted on this day in 1993.
I respect it for what it was.
It's been 30 years since Mr. Anderson talked about them meddling kids.
That's true.
Then they parlayed him into one of the best shows about America that's ever been made.
They did. That's a good line to end on, Jarrett. Thank you.
See
ya. But the coolest thing on this day in music, 1981, Queen on tour in South America. They played at the Jose Amalfitani Stadium in Buenos Aires, home of Vélez Sarsfield. And this guy was backstage. Diego Maradona.
Heard of him.
And Freddie Mercury and the members of Queen. 1981. Pretty cool. I think they brought Maradona out on stage as well. He didn't sing. They just brought him out because they said he was the best, and he was the best at that time, and it was pretty cool. So Diego and Freddie hanging out 1981 on this day in Buenos Aires. I think it was the last date of Queens Argentine Tour then. All right. We've given you time to prep and think of your ad-libs and think of where you want to go with this, and this could go so off the rails. But John is now going to tell us about our good friend in Decatur, Steve Apolinsky.
Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network for wrongful death and serious injury matters. If this is a concern of yours, there's only one place you need to go, and it is said firm, Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. You can get your questions answered by the firm in 3 different ways, as we discuss here on the show. Pick up the phone. Give them a call. 404-377-9191. You get a free consultation that way. Or you can shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com. Or you can go on the World Wide Web, large device or small. Type in aa-legal.com, hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances your screen to the homepage at Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, and they lay out everything for you. And if you still have questions about the history of Apolinsky and Associates, the firm of Apolinsky, all of the questions involved in 3 dimensions that are there at aa-legal.com. There's a pop-up window that pops up because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison. And if your question isn't available for an answer on the homepage, you can get your question answered perhaps through the pop-up window. So a bunch of different ways that you can get your questions answered when it comes to wrongful death and serious injury matters at Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in 2 time zones, the Eastern and the Central, because their clients are in Georgia and Alabama. Once again, wrongful death and serious injury matters recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. One place you need to go. And the website is aa-legal.com.
Am I going to have to get a longer song?
That wasn't longer than the others.
Yes, John. It was like not even close to being the same length as the others. It was 100 and a million% longer than the others.
It does not feel that way.
John, you went almost 2 minutes.
Did not feel that way.
Because you included so many different random things in it. It got under. The song itself is 2:46.
Uh-huh.
That is the first time that you finished under the minute mark left. Ever.
Wow.
We're going to have to get you to figure out your timing again because it has gotten so out of whack. Strange pacing. 3 dimensions. It's a computer screen. That's not really.
People think in 3 dimensions.
Keep trying to come up with an excuse. Too fast, Dr. D says. Well, he slowed down. No, John. There's a clock. I see the clock. He said that at the beginning. Then you slowed down. I'm not making up the time. I can't make up seconds and minutes. They're real things. I'm not making up a new monetary system here. I'm not making up a new dimension of time.
It's the Bitcoin of reads.
That would be the way to explain your read sometimes. Hutcho, twirling of the pen plus 1.5. Baton would get a higher ad, however. Overall, good handiwork and good eye contact with the camera, 8.3. Fast start, stumbles, -1. Readjust to slow mode. Gets esoteric, speeds back up. That was a ride, 6.7. A 9, an 8.5. That was way longer than normal. Absolutely, Michael Ruiz. Thank you. 6 boiled peanuts out of 10. A quarter, this guy thinks I have change. -2, 8 out of 10. Meh, 5 out of 11. Weird pacing, longer than normal, fast and stumbling. Jason Nix, lost in the wooden again, 6.227. Very thorough, mostly smooth, 8.85. Very businesslike, very good. Still put all his heart and soul into the pencil pokes. Excellent rendition, 9.7.
Ow.
Bernd was fired up because of the Manchester United slander from earlier. I think he was ready to go. Chris Berry, 92%. Sean Vergara, -1. Pen fumbling today, nervous. -2, I'm just lost in the ad-libs. That's what he said. -1, I was upset or confused. I was confused. I was flat out confused when that thing went off the rails in the middle. -1 long. It's a Monday. 3.45284. That is from East Germany. Hutcho likes the new boiled peanut metric from Uncle No Pockets. I agree. There were problems with that read, but I'm giving him a 9.3 for trying new stuff.
Okay.
That feels like a pity 9.3, but okay. You got to ditch some of the old shticks to get that time back to normal. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Boiled peanuts do improve everything. That is 100% true. 7 out of 10. People are hating on boiled peanuts. Thomas, I was just giving you props, and now I take them back. 5.8 from the West Russian judge. Pacing needs to be figured out. Saying he's a legal elite in Georgia, but no reference to how he ranks in Alabama. Seems like he doesn't do as much work in that state. That's a valid point.
That is a valid point. Perhaps you should call Apolinsky & Associates, LLC at 404-377-9191 and ask said question.
Yes. Can we add an on-screen timer? No, we're not doing it.
Oh, that'd be great.
I'm being told to stop bullying. No, I'm just looking at the clock. It was long. It's a fact. Meh out of 10. We will talk about Daryl Dike in un momento, Michael Ruiz. I am a Time Lord and only use my powers to bully John. I'm just looking at a clock. It was the longest he ever did, and he's trying to say he went short. That's all.
I'm saying it didn't. I'm saying that it didn't feel long. I'm not saying that I went short. I'm just saying it didn't feel as long as you perceive it to be.
Fair enough. It was long. We do have some news that we will get to, and I believe that is it. Arguing over boiled peanuts now, boiled or roasted. Actually, you know what? This is going to have to get a new trick that I have learned around here on the Twitch pitch. We are asking you now, which is better, boiled peanuts or roasted peanuts?
Oh, we have polling?
We have polling, John. We are fancy.
Nice.
All right, news. Thank you. From Bob Williams. This is in the inbox now. NWSL Challenge Cup opener and 3 additional games will air on the CBS Sports Network, while the final will air on Big CBS. All the games on Paramount Plus domestically and internationally, they are on Twitch. There's your NWSL TV for the Challenge Cup. Now, the season will be a little bit different once it starts in May. Challenge Cup will start next month.
April CBS, 9th, 8:30, Houston and Chicago on CBS Sports Network and on Twitch.
Internationally, not domestically. That's very important.
Yes.
Don't go to Twitch and try to watch the game if you're in Idaho.
No, CBS Sports Network.
Yes. Maybe or Paramount Plus. Hopefully they're carrying it over there, but that part I don't know. There you go, Paramount Plus for your NWSL. Both is not an option for card. You have to pick one. You have to pick boiled or roasted. You have to take a stand. Twice? I don't know. Find out. Anyway, we've had a question to talk about Daryl Dike and Barnsley. And John, you are the English snob, so while you're trying to figure out a poll, can you tell us about Daryl Dike and Barnsley?
Well, for those who watched us on the Smorgasbord on Saturday, he hit an absolute rocket into the corner as Barnsley continues to rocket up the standings in the championship. And Daryl likes to make a point as to how many wins in a row Barnsley is on his Twitter feed. And when they got to 6 in a row, he asked folks if they could count to 6. And so now that they have continued to win, their form, just to give you an idea, in the last 10, as Barnsley is sitting right there on the edge of the playoff, Barnsley has won 7 of their last 10, 7-2-1 in their last 10. They've outscored folks 15-6. So right now the standings in the championship have Barnsley in that 6th spot in the promotion playoff after they were 11th and 12th for the longest time. Daryl Dike shows up. They rocket up the standings. Draw your own conclusion.
So you're trying to lead us to believe that Barnsley is now on a roll because of Daryl Dike.
In part. I would say that he is part of the discussion, but they have, like I said, when you're 7-2-1, you've only lost once in your last 10. Them's good form. You're a point ahead of Bournemouth, who's in 7th, but right now, yeah, you're in the 6th spot. You've got a match in hand behind Jessica Charman's Reading, so you could be making more of a push inside the promotion playoff standings right now. But yeah, after being 11th and 12th 2 months ago, you are right there in 6th right now in the championship.
Daryl Dike is the 3rd highest rated player this season in the championship for Barnsley. Carlton Morris and Alex Mowat are the ones ahead of him, and he hasn't been there all that long. 5 starts, 7 games, 3 goals. Pretty good. If they get promoted, I would assume that he stays and they purchase him. If they don't, do you think Daryl Dike goes back to Orlando, or have we seen the last of Daryl Dike in Major League Soccer?
I still think Barnsley, if Barnsley gets close, I think if they're in the promotion playoff, and I think that they get close, I think that they still try to make that push for keeping DK long term. I think that this might be, if Barnsley makes a push, I think that this might be the last we've seen DK for a while.
I don't think he comes back to Orlando, period. I think he will, if Barnsley doesn't keep him, I think he will go somewhere else in England with what he's doing. He's turned enough heads. I don't think he comes back. And I think that's okay. Like, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because Orlando will make, he's a draft pick. The super draft is not what it used to be, but Orlando's going to do pretty well with it here and get a nice return for a draft pick. And they're okay up top. Like, they just signed Pato. We have no idea what Alexandre Pato is going to look like at this point. But they've added him. They've got Tesho Akindele, who is solid. They added late last year Mateus Ayas, who only played 16 minutes. And he was brought in to kind of be one of these guys potentially. They're not going to be hurting up front. If you can make the sale, you make the sale, I think. You 100% make the sale. It's very funny to watch the poll changed a little bit. I think there was a late push on somebody cashing in bits to put Boiled over the top, if I'm not mistaken. I lost it, actually. It flashed at me, and I lost it. I don't know if it's still up for people on Twitch. You can see it. It's not on my OBS, how I run the show. The 5 minutes was up. It was Roasted who was Dominant win for Roasted. Thank you. It flipped at the end of the poll. That's what it was. Roasted won, I think, 16-10. I would agree with that. I like boiled peanuts, but if I have to pick one, I'll go Roasted. If I have to pick, I'm going to go Roasted. 16-10. Yes, you can vote multiple times if you use bits, I have learned this morning.
Okay.
We are experimenting with the Twitch. If you did not realize that, we're learning as we go. We're barely functional on a Monday. But no, Orlando, I think DK's gone. Barnsley possibly. But if not, it'll be somebody else, and they'll make a good return. If it's not Barnsley, they said, remember, there was this $20 million purchase option that people were talking about that kind of got washed away. They said it's nowhere near that. If he's sold in general, 5 is fine.
Yeah.
'Cause you drafted him. You paid nothing. You paid him a low salary last year as a Generation Adidas player. That's it. You sell him for $5 million, you are thrilled, and you move on, and you move on, and you don't even have to go out and spend that money on an immediate replacement. So you're good. You're good. Thomas Jewin says about the roasted and boiled peanut thing. Of course, someone from South Georgia felt the need to vote multiple times in a poll about peanuts. That's fair. That's fair. Uncle No Pockets is just sad because he can't find boiled peanuts up in Oregon.
Yeah, it's just I've always thought that boiled peanuts for me were just too messy.
But they're good.
I'm not denying that. I've just thought that they're always too messy when you're trying to get to the boiled peanut. It's just getting to it. It's too much of a mess.
They're good
for me.
So we have a new subscriber on the Twitch pitch. Thank you to Tafka for recommending the show to friends. Of course, friends who are Rangers fans who come in today when we're going nuts. Tafka says, can we mention that Rangers have been good and they got the job done, can only beat the teams in front of you? 100%. where I'm blown away is the idea that Steven Gerrard is like the next Pep Guardiola or whoever else you want to put in that conversation because of what he did. That feels like a jump. That feels like a massive jump. Rangers is back 100%, which is good. But it is a two-horse race. And when one of them is as bad as Celtic was this year, you should win. And they did. And they didn't trip over themselves, which is good. It's not a shocking accomplishment, meaning that your manager should go move to Liverpool immediately and take over, because that would be a step back. It just would. But it's not saying that Rangers have not been good. I think that part, maybe our slander has been a little much. But it's not about Rangers not being good. It says that they haven't been as good as some have maybe made it out to be. The job that Steven Gerrard has done is not as good as it's been made out to be. That's where I'm at with it. But thank you. I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation. The Lazon. Zalazon. Is that good? Zalazon. And Zalazon agrees with our Rangers take there. So, yeah, there is a Celtic fan on the show. You will get to know Jarrett Smith. He was very reluctant to come off as salty, so I figured I needed to be the one to go off on it. But, yeah, it's the reaction more than anything. It's nothing against Rangers at all. They've won. And they've won early, and that's great. But they beat the teams they should, which you should do. Yes. So now let's see what they can do beyond that. Can they go deeper in Europa League? What kind of a manager will Stevie G be in the long term? I don't know. I really don't have an answer to that just yet. They have more talent than everybody. Uncle No Pockets asks if it's weird that he watches the show on Xbox and chats on Twitch Pitch on his phone. I don't think so. That's not weird.
No, if you're comfortable with handling the devices that you have in certain ways, I mean, that's just your style. I don't view anything wrong with that.
That's not weird. I would imagine the chat function on like Xbox, or if you're projecting it as others do on a TV, it'd be a little awkward. If it makes sense to chat elsewhere, then yeah, whatever works. Whatever works, as long as you're part of the show and communicating with us, we're all good.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked about Der Klassiker yet. That was Saturday afternoon. It looked great for Borussia Dortmund off the jump. And then Bayern Munich woke up, and they spanked Borussia Dortmund to finish that thing. 2 goals in 10 minutes from Erling Haaland. Robert Lewandowski then had a hat trick. He said, "We know that maybe the first 15, 20 minutes we didn't play well, but after we conceded the goal, we knew that we had to push forward. We had to try and score the next goal. In the second half, we had the game under control. We said, come on, boys, we have to try and score another goal because we want to get 3 points. We did that, and I think that was something special. We showed everyone that we want to stay in first place." I hope that my bad picks down here run is over now, because I had a pretty good week last week with my all draws segment on Soccer Over There, and we'll compare the scores because John has to do math this afternoon, he told us.
Yeah, yes, he does.
He really shouldn't, but he does. I had 2 draws I know that I got right. I got the Madrid derby, and I got the horrible game in Germany right as a draw.
The easiest, that should have been really, because both teams were horrible as Schalke and Mainz. You should have just said draw. You picked draw, everybody else didn't, so you got that one.
I went draw with everything. That was my gimmick for the week, and I got at least 2 of them right, so I'll take that. But I also, on our Smorgasbord show, as we were chatting and looking ahead to Der Klassiker, I said it would be 4-2 Bayern. I said that Lewandowski would have a hat trick, and I said that Haaland would have 2 goals. I really wish I had taken juice boxes and put them somewhere on that, because that would have been amazing. That's how it goes.
You would have made the effing fortune if you had bet that perfecto.
I would have had a good weekend. I still had a good weekend, but it was not with a whole bunch of extra juice boxes at my disposal after that game. Man, it was a really fun game, though. Johannes says it was an awesome advertisement for the league. Johannes knows he's biased, but it's the most entertaining league in the world. I'm coming. It's not that I was down on it. It's just it was never something that I grew up with, and I know a lot of people in this country did with Soccer Made in Germany on PBS. There's a lot of like old school German soccer fans in this country. I was never that. So it's a league for me that I don't know as well. And I feel like at times it can be a little every game looks the same.
Yeah.
Because the style permeates through the league. That's why when Pep went to Bayern, like, I paid a little more attention because I was like, okay, this is a little different. He had to adapt to that. But the games can feel like counterfests for a while. I want to see more diversity in the coaching styles and in the tactics and in the philosophies. I think that will get me more into it. But just as a one-off game, just a game you throw it on and say, are you entertained? You are generally going to be entertained by games from Germany because of that. Because it's a very fast-paced, very active style. It's not the old-school English mentality of boot it long and chase where there's activity, but it's not quality. That's what we saw with that Schalke Mainz game where you didn't have the quality to really even play what they were trying to play. It was just turnover fest down here. So the German game for me, I want to see more differences. Like, that's one thing I do like about some other leagues. But, and it's absolutely fair to say, if you are comparing Germany and Spain, and you're not taking the best game of the weekend, you're not taking the best teams, you're taking average game, middle of the road, like 9 versus 10, or 8 versus 9, and you're going to throw those games up, you're going to be more entertained by the game from the Bundesliga because it's the style. So that was a huge deal for the Bundesliga to have that on Big ABC, to have a fun game on Big ABC, to have all the talk with it. Derek Ray's great, as always. Taylor Twellman on it was important because he's an American voice, so an American soccer fan stumbling into that game, not knowing it, that's going to help them a little bit. It's like, oh, I watch MLS. I know Taylor Twellman. Okay, cool. I'm going to watch. Okay, familiar voice. Good. And it was a great game, and you got sucked in. It was good. I hope they do more of that with other leagues, too. You know, if there's a big game from Serie A, throw it up on ABC. You would be surprised. I want to see ESPN use that more. I want to see Paramount Plus use that with CBS where they can, where it makes sense. A big U.S. men's national team game on the road in Honduras, let's get it on CBS. Let's do these things. This could be really cool to see. It's big. Bern, you go so deeper than I do on it, like on the German game. So you can go deeper and not go surface and say the styles are not the same. I understand that. Yeah, I'm with you. They're you don't know the teams. It feels very similar. What Byrne says, the problem is that most teams are tactically and defensively sound, so there's not a lot of high-scoring games. The games just feel like a lot of the same to me as not knowing the intricate differences. And that's something where, look, it's probably just me. Like, look, the Bundesliga is doing fine. You know, they don't need me. But it's been something that's been a little bit harder for me to get into. But I'm working on it. I'm trying. I'm trying to learn more about every league in the world that I can and be able to give you guys more on them. And it's cool that we have such a diverse community here talking about games that people know the Bundesliga better than I do and can share that expertise with us. So, very cool. No news on the Erling Haaland talk yet. Chelsea has reportedly been very interested. Manchester United. Ole has said, yes, he still talks to him because he managed him at Molde. Real Madrid's going to go after him. The talk out of Spain is that they think they have a better chance of getting Haaland than Mbappe, which I would agree with. So I don't know. I think Dortmund's going to get an offer they can't confuse. I think he goes. I do. I think he goes to one of those major teams. Not to say Dortmund's not a big team, but I think 125 to 150 million is going to be needed by Dortmund, and I think he's going to end up. I don't even know where yet. I would have to say Real Madrid as my leader in the clubhouse right now because I think they have to get somebody like that right now. They have to. They can't deal with Atleti winning a title and Barcelona now feeling like they're functioning again. They've got to do something to grab the spotlight back. I think it's Erling Haaland.
For me, I'm leaning toward Manchester City, and it's Pep Guardiola has acknowledged he knows that there's going to be roster turnover in the offseason. So I would lean toward a Manchester City for someone like an Erling Haaland. I admit that I was also one of those soccer made in Germany kids. because you remember Toby Charles.
Sure,
that was just one of my first exposures to the sport.
Sure, but John, you're an English snob. It's not like you're watching the Bundesliga on a regular weekend.
Not on the regular weekend, although that I am attracted to the storylines that are there, like an FC Union Berlin,
right?
When they were promoted and they did as well as they did in their first season, I gravitate toward those kinds of storylines. I watch Der Klassiker because of where it is in the context of the league and with rivalries and such, and getting the chance to hear Derek Ray, who was just absolutely. I love Derek Ray, and I love listening to him because the passion is there, and you can feel it with him as the game is going back and forth. But I think it was a great call for ESPN to put it on big ABC as a part of this whole thing. But I think it was a great exposure for the person that's not going to gravitate toward the Bundesliga naturally to go in and see a match like that.
Yeah, I mean you have to get it out there for more people to see it. Gustavo comes in talking trash about, you want a high-scoring game? Boca destroyed Vela 7-1. Without Giannetti, they suffered a lot. They did. And we'll see what happens with Giannetti now. Like I hope everything works out. I mean, it's awful luck for him. He's played and he's been okay. He hasn't had a problem with his knee, but you do the scan when he comes to Atlanta to finalize the deal with the move. And it's enough of a problem that he's back in Buenos Aires now, and he's going to have further tests. Maybe they spotted something before it tore. Maybe it was just a matter of time before a ligament tore again. I don't know. I haven't seen really detailed analysis of a private medical scan yet, which I wouldn't expect. It's a shame for him because, this was a big move for him. This was a big move for his family, a 5-year deal that doesn't get done now because of this. Hopefully he can do what is needed to avoid a major injury. If it's something where he has to have a surgical procedure now to fix it, it's good that he knows before having a major injury because hopefully it won't be as severe of a procedure now to get it done. Hopefully he'll bounce back. But it hurts Velez in the short term, because now you've really got to get a deal done with Luis Abram, their other center back, who they need to re-sign, but they don't have the depth to deal without really either one of them losing. Now, Velez also collapsed in this, and Boca finally played like Boca can play. That all factors into it. But I think the idea that, if you couldn't get Giannetti, then go get Abram from Velez, I don't think Velez sells. And I don't think they have somebody below that you're going to go get. I think we saw that kind of play out a little bit yesterday. It's one game, you don't want to jump to major conclusions, but if Giannetti is out, I don't think they're going to sell their other starting center back to Atlanta United. So the questions that people have asked throughout the morning are, what's next? Are there any other rumors? Is there any other talk? And I have not seen anything official yet on this. I have not seen anything yet on any of that. Okay, I didn't know if they were going to do this, but yes, this is breaking news. This is absolutely breaking news. From at WWE, welcome to the WWE, Kevin Patrick. And then you look at him and you're like, wait a minute.
You're like, I know that guy.
That's Kevin Egan. Kevin Egan is joining the WWE. The signing of the day in the transfer market is Egan to WWE as Kevin Patrick, which is very common, guys. The names get trademarked by WWE, so he wants to be able to use his name outside of that, so this is kind of how it goes. This is very typical. It's not anything weird by that. He will be a backstage correspondent for Monday Night Raw. He will be a play-by-play commentator for WWE Main Event and the host of Raw Talk. Kevin Egan is on WWE now.
Here's the quote from Patrick, attributed to Patrick.
From Kevin. Let's just call him Kevin.
I'm beyond thrilled to join WWE, said Patrick. I've always been blown away by the incredible charisma and athleticism of the WWE superstars, and I'm excited at the opportunity to help tell their stories, end quote.
Very cool. Breaking news, cool. Kevin Egan on WWE Raw. On USA Network. And I'm guessing, since they put that out today, that he would be on tonight's show. So Monday night, you might want to flip it over to a Raw while you're watching soccer over there, starting at 7 o'clock.
Oh, that's going to be tremendous.
Good stuff. We will have to catch up with Kevin after his first WWE experience. Hopefully later in the week we'll try to get Kevin on. Okay. Valazon, and the questions have come up a lot about the center back conversation. They were there at the very beginning. They were there in the middle. I think Uncle No Pockets asked a question too. Valazon was the latest. Combo Atlanta United and EU question I've had for a couple weeks while listening. Is there any chance of Atlanta going after someone like William Saliba out of Arsenal? Amazing talent, but he's been benched all year. He's too expensive to buy, but getting him on loan would be amazing, especially since we had that center back from South America fall through. I don't know if you would go get a loan that you don't have a realistic chance to buy. That would be my reluctance. And you're not just getting any center back to play in the system. That's the other major thing here. It's not just, okay, you're getting a good center back who's rated highly. You need somebody with specific skills. That's very important. So, could you look at somebody on a loan? Absolutely. But I think it would be a loan with a realistic purchase possibility at the end of it. That's where I'm at with it. Could absolutely be wrong. I mean, you might say, look, we just need somebody right now. But I think you might be looking at somebody, if you're doing that, to get you through to the summer window to buy again. So maybe you're looking at a veteran. Maybe you're looking at somebody who has played for Heinze before, who was in that kind of situation. Somebody that's a known quantity. That's why I think Giannetti became a really good option, was because you went after Martinez from Defensa, who's now at River, thinking he could be a player that you needed. When you couldn't get him, and time's ticking down, you went for a player who knows exactly how Heinze works. Heinze knows how he works, would have just slid right in, no problems. Well, now that hasn't happened. There's not really another player at Vélez that you could get that would fit that role. So you've got to make a decision. Do you have what you have? Do you roll with what you roll with right now? Is it Walks at center back? Is it Sosa drop into center back? You can absolutely do that. Or do you have to go get somebody to start? Because if you decide you're okay with Sosa and Walks with Robinson, all right, probably need some depth. Probably need one more depth piece. So do you go get that? Sam Williamson's throwing Salcedo's name out there. I don't think it's Salcedo or bust. I think it's nobody or bust. Let's relax on that. You have favorites, I understand, but you have to think about the fit. You need a couple things, in my opinion. You need somebody with pace, number one, because you're going to play a very high line. You're going to be incredibly bold with the high line you play. You need somebody with pace who can turn and run. You need somebody who's comfortable on the ball. You don't necessarily need somebody who can hit the big, long diagonal. It's a nice bonus. You don't need that. You need somebody who's good on the ball in tight spaces. You want somebody who is comfortable carrying the ball forward if the opposition drops. You want somebody who can carry the ball on the dribble. That's another nice bonus. But the two just non-starters, non-negotiable aspects you need, pace and quality on the ball. Composure on the ball. You got to have those. So whenever you're talking about center backs, those are two you got to have. I don't think you're going to sign somebody that doesn't have those.
Jake Michaels has a couple of Atlanta United questions this morning. One of them has to do with center back. He says, in addition to what you've been talking about, who do you think could step in and really surprise at the position this year? And is it realistic to think someone like George Campbell could get a lot of time?
He could. I mean, if you're going with what you're going with, then he becomes next in line at center back. And he has the characteristics. He has the pace. He is good on the ball. He needs to be better on the ball. He's young. How do you do that? You play. Like, it's just that simple. So do you then pivot to say, you know what? We're going to roll with Walks or Campbell or Sosa. And if it's Sosa, he's young too. Walks is steadier, but maybe the ceiling isn't as high. Campbell is the least experienced of them. But you say, you know what? We're going to roll. We're going to take our lumps a little bit with what we have, but we believe in the development process. That could be the approach as well. Campbell could be that. I mean, players who make the biggest jump for me, I really think Brooks Lennon is going to shock people this year because I think this style of play and what you're going to ask your outside backs to do suits him to a T. I think Brooks Lennon has an incredible year.
Then Jake Michaels also asks about the summer window, and he says it could be a big one for the club. Bello, Barco, question mark around Miles out if they play well, and two DPs.
Whoa. Hold up on Bello being sold in the summer. There's no real talk of that. Like, this is, again, like, I know it's easy to jump to things and say, like, well, then this, if this, that. There hasn't really been a credible rumor on Bello being sold, period, yet. Now, I think the Brian Reynolds sale opens up a lot of possibilities for George Bello, absolutely. But the summer would be fast. I don't think the summer window you're selling 3-4 guys. I don't think that at all. I don't know why that would even be part of the thought process. Do you start to hear talk? Absolutely. Barco could be the one, in my opinion. If the right offer is there. I don't know if it will be there this summer because of just the market in general. But no, I don't think you're selling 3-4 guys at all. I don't think you're even entertaining that possibility.
And so Jake asks, do you think the market will be better than, for his first question?
Better than now? Yeah, just because summer's better than winter, period. Will it be better than it was 2 summers ago? Not even close.
And then the second question and a follow-up, how do you think Heinze / the club will approach the first half of the season with summer window in mind?
It won't be in mind. You will play the first half of the season and try to win as many games as possible. And you'll focus on implementing your style of play and your model of play. You're not going to do anything about the first half of the season thinking about the summer window because you don't need to go make a big summer purchase. You are not thinking about selling a bunch of players in the summer. Now, could players leave in the summer? Sure. I think it would be players who are on the fringes or not playing as much. I don't think you're looking at selling 3 contributing players or 4 contributing players or even 2 in the summer. Unless the offer is insane, which isn't probably likely because of just the current financial situation worldwide. And 2, if you have somebody ready to replace them. You know, and if you do, then okay. Like, let's say Bello, somebody comes in with a $10 million offer this summer. Well, then okay, you're probably going to sell if he wants to take the offer. Because you have Mikey Ambrose who can step in and play that role, and you have Caleb Wiley on the way. So you could do that. I don't know if it happens, and I think it would take 8 figures. You're not planning for that. Let's put it that way. That's the important thing here. You're not planning for that to happen. If it happens, you adjust, but I don't see it yet. I think it's more likely in the winter after this season.
Well, because also I think that a lot of clubs across the planet really are going to have a better financial handle on things as we get closer into 2022 anyway, as opposed to hopping back into things and not knowing how things are going to be economically in the summer window. I think that you're going to ease into things in the summer. I think that by 2022 and those windows, I think that you'll have a better handle on things.
There was a little bit of freaking out about Kevin Patrick. Not doing MLS. He's doing MLS. He's just doing Monday Night Raw. He's doing one. Well, he's doing that. He'll probably do some pay-per-views and stuff too, I would assume, possibly, but. Yes, he's still doing other things, too. He's got other days in the week to fill. He's a busy man. He's a busy, busy man. Alex Facine says it works out perfectly for Kevin. He can reuse a shtick about coming back from the dead in WWE and for Atlanta United. That's accurate. That's true. Uncle says, with the window in Argentina being closed, aren't our chances bringing someone in from there slim? That was my understanding from other conversations. Yeah, 100%. I mean, nothing's changed with that. I'm not saying anything different. Money talks, because it does. And there's a lot of clubs in Argentina who wouldn't want to sell anybody right now, but they need the money even more. Could you find somebody that fits in that situation? Possibly. But it is less likely now because they can't bring in a replacement. And I think if you're looking for anybody, you're looking for a team probably out of the Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana conversation that won't be having those games to play here soon before the next window. You're looking for a mid to bottom tier team and a center back that you would have, I think, an understanding that they would be able to play the system. Could there be one? Yeah, there could. There could be somebody who came through with hindsight Argentinos. There could be somebody who was at Vélez, maybe didn't fit, maybe couldn't beat out Giannetti and Avram and went elsewhere. But that's not a long list, you know? So you could be going with what you have. You could look within the league. You could look in Brazil because their window is open and a team might be willing to make a sale knowing they could replace them. You could. If I had to pick what, like, out of those three is most likely, let's say you go with what you have. You go shopping in Argentina or you go shopping elsewhere. I think staying with what you have is the most likely at this point. I think shopping in Argentina is next just because of the knowledge that your manager has and your front office has of that market, and also the need for some teams to sell like now. And then you're looking elsewhere if you decide to look, but I think you might just stay with what you have and wait till the summer when Argentine teams could replace players. I think that's probably the more likely thing.
A couple of other folks have some Atlanta United stuff on the Twitters this morning.
What else we got?
The Colonel says that MLS has published their list of best defensive mids and ignored both Ibarra and Sosa. Rant or eh?
They haven't seen them yet, and they probably don't know them. So, no, it's eh. I mean, also, to be fair, I mean, Sosa's played 20-plus games at River, and Ibarra's played 10 starts at Argentinos Juniors. So to say they should be ranked ahead of Alexander Ring in this league, no, they shouldn't. Quality, some of it depends on where Sosa plays and where Ibarra plays. I mean, there's still the idea that they're going to play a double pivot because you signed two guys. Heinze hasn't played a double pivot much at all. So if he does, that's different, and he could, but it's not really expected because of the track record he's had as a manager and what he said about the way he sees the game. No, it's meh. They got to prove it. They don't walk in as the best holding midfielder in the league after 10 or 20 games in Argentina. That's not fair to the players in the league.
And then the other Atlanta United topic on the Twitters from Tafka says, would it not be beneficial to Atlanta to expand its destinationness, in quotation marks, as a place for top European clubs who are down the depth chart and need minutes? Obviously, you don't want to do that too much, but it would be a good pool of players and a CONCACAF Champions League advantage.
Why would it be a CONCACAF Champions League advantage? To go get somebody from France or England who's never played in CONCACAF and never played in a Latin style and would have no understanding of the dark arts that happen in these things. No, it doesn't mean it's an advantage. And if they're down the depth chart, as I've argued many, many times, this idea that like the down the depth chart of Europe is better than the best of South America, I thoroughly and utterly disagree with. Moises Caicedo should have walked into Brighton and started playing.
Amen.
There's playing him in the U23s is a little bit of an insult to his game and what he's done already. Like, he's got to earn it, of course. But they were going to loan him out to a second division team in Belgium straight out of the gate. I mean, come on. Moises Caicedo is ready to play at that level, and Brighton could use him. If you're down the depth chart in England, you're down the depth chart for a reason, or down the depth chart in Europe, you're down there for a reason. I'd rather go get somebody, one, who's playing always, and two, who in CONCACAF Champions League is more familiar with the Latin style of play. It kind of goes along with Dalazon's question. If the pace is so high, talking about need for center back, why not go for someone out of the UK where the pace is fast? I'm not talking about pace of play. I'm talking about their individual speed. And the whole South American game is not slow. It's not. There's a lot of teams, and Gabriel Heinze's Vélez, and now Fernando Gago's Aldo Civi. Some teams in Brazil, we'll see if Inter does this under Ramirez, who came over from Independiente del Valle in Ecuador. There's some teams in leagues that play high-paced, Bielsa-ish kind of style. Atletico Mineiro had a lot of elements of that under Jorge Sampaoli. So, I mean, that blanket statement I'll disagree with, but it's not even about the pace of the game. It's about the individual speed of the player. You need players at center back in Atlanta United's system under Gabriel Heinze who can turn and run fast, period. Because you're going to play high line. You're going to see Atlanta's team win the balls in the other half. You're going to see the two center backs at the midway line consistently. And you're going to see 50-plus yards between them and Brad Kazan. You need the center backs who can turn and run, can read the game, know when to drop. You also are going to need your goalkeeper to come out of his 18 from time to time and make a play. That's part of this idea of playing. It's not like crazy because we see Bayern do it, and Bayern did it, gets burned. They don't care. They're going to do it again. We see Pep's teams do it. They get burned. They're going to still do it again because it works when you train it right and when you have the right players. Do you give up some goals because of it? Yeah, 100%. You do. You do. But if you do it right, you just pin the other team into their own half, and all they can do is bomb it long and reset. That's it. You take away any ability for them to play. That's Gabriel Heinze's idea. That's his model. He doesn't want the other team to be able to play. He wants the ball to be with his players. He wants them to be able to play. He wants the other team to have to watch and defend. He doesn't want to watch the other team with the ball. So these are the elements that go into that. So to have that center back, I think you have to have somebody with the pace, but you need somebody who can play with the ball at their feet as well. The long diagonal is a great bonus. It is. If you have it, it's great. It gives you more weapons. It's not essential. It's not critical for this, because what you want to do is you want to get out down the flanks anyway, not skipping. You want to get out down the flanks. You want to work the ball to the side, have Lennon, have Bello carry it forward. You want to get them going forward. But if you can skip it from time to time, hey, again, it's a nice bonus. Joanne about Walks' pace. Seems like it's decent, not exceptional. It's better than decent, I think. It's not Miles, which I don't know if there's any center back in this league that has Miles' pace, which is great to have and maybe gives you a little more wiggle room here at the other center back. But Walks is pretty good. I mean, when he was playing right back in 2017, he could get up and down the line pretty well. It's not Miles, but it's good. It's better than decent, I would say.
Tofka's follow-up on his thought was, because roster turnover between November and February creates problems, top-quality loan players could help with the issue.
Maybe, possibly, but you don't want to build your team based off loan players. So, I mean, it's a last resort, is what I would say about it. Like, is there going to be a situation where you need to do it? Absolutely. And it might be now, just to even get you to the summer where you can make the purchase you want. But in general, no, I don't think you want to make that a strategy. I think it's a last resort if you can't find what you want in other means. Because if you're just bringing in a guy on loan who is not playing elsewhere and he's going to help you, then something happened with your team. Your recruitment didn't go right, or you had injuries, or there's some issue why you need a stopgap. So you don't want to avoid that at all times. Does it happen someday? Sure, it will. But it's not a strategy, in my opinion.
Ezra Packham with an MLS question in the Twitters this morning.
Okay.
He says, of the kits that are released so far, which ones would make your top 5, and are there any kits you really don't like? And what I'm going to do is, in the Twitch, I'm going to post a link to Footy Headlines with the kit overview that they've posted, so folks can look on their own, and I'll post it to Discord as well.
They have posted a kit overview, is what you're telling me.
Footy Headlines 2021 MLS kit overview.
Okay. We were talking about center backs and getting into tactics, and you throw kits at me. I wasn't ready for that.
Throwing kits at you.
I was not ready. I'm trying to think off the top of my head as I try to find this link that you are discussing. What have I liked? I like Philadelphia's new secondary kit a lot. I like Portland's primary kit a lot.
Yep.
I like the new Atlanta United kit. We talked about it before. I think it looks a lot better than the initial mock-up did. It looks good. I like it. I like the full kit with the all black. I like it. What other ones
Vancouver,
stood out to
going
me?
back old school?
Going back old school. They were old school last year. What are you talking about?
Well, they've got the bell.
They've done that. They did that last year. That's not new.
Well, then I still like it.
Okay. Yeah, I think they've done that for a while now. Like, yeah, I mean, that's not new. I thought the question was about the new stuff.
It is the new stuff.
Okay. Just checking. Yeah, that's the same. Minnesota, they're kind of light blue. That one stood out to me. Those are the ones that I think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. Then, are there any that you don't like so far?
I don't like the DC one with the white with the blue. I mean, I understand kind of the idea behind it, but it just feels meh. Like, I don't like it. Probably a lot of the white ones are going to be the ones that are meh. Houston's is not great. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's pretty basic. But I think I do get what they were trying to do, because it and the Houston Dash jerseys are very similar, and that's hard to do with Nike and Adidas. So I think they went kind of basic on both to have them look really similar. So the branding idea behind it I get, but it does kind of hurt the creativity of it. Probably that DC one is the one I like the least. That's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't like the rebranding in Houston with the interlocking HD.
I like that.
Yeah, I didn't do anything for me. And then Miami still not having a sponsor on the front of their kit.
That has nothing to do with the kit, John. That's a sales issue.
Yeah, well, and I like pink and black together, but just I got to go with Chicago. I mean, I've got to go with DC. I mean, and Houston.
It looks like
just
Chicago.
Because,
That's it right there. It looks like Chicago. It doesn't look like DC.
Yeah. I'm sitting here staring at 16 of them, and I'm like, wait a second. But yeah, Houston on personal preference just because of the rebrand, and Miami because they don't have a sponsor.
That's nothing to do with the kit, though, John. That you have to understand.
It's a sales issue, I know.
Yeah, like that. That's they're not just going to put somebody there to just put somebody there. They need to actually sell it.
Yeah.
The other ones that jump out, I mean, Columbus is in, Dallas's baby blue one's in. I don't like New England's. Nashville and NYC kind of kept with what they've been doing. Orlando kept with what they've been doing. I like San Jose's sort of throwback with the lighter blue. Seattle's alternate is strange.
Loud.
Actually, that might be one of my least favorite. The Vancouver one, it's an updated version of what they were doing, so it's not really super new.
I like what Austin's done with theirs.
Austin's good. They've done well with their kits. I like the green and black. I like their white one with the green. I mean, it's white, but it works. The Chicago away is actually really good. I like that. The horizontal stripes and kind of a bluish tint. I like that. That's good.
With the sublimated Chicago stars, City of Chicago stars in there.
Yes, down with that. I do want to see what Colorado does with their away. That's going to go back to the green. That they used to use forever ago, and now they're going to come back to it. I like Montreal. I like their home with the new brand element sublimated through it. That works really good.
Oh, what about the Galaxy throwback?
The Galaxy throwback is one of the best ones. That's a good call. It's definitely one of the best ones.
So that's what I was looking at when I was trying to find. Oh, and the Philadelphia lightning bolt one.
I said that.
Yeah,
that was the first one I said.
Well, I was trying to think of Philadelphia lightning bolt.
Okay, we've really, really, really went down the kit rabbit hole. We're good.
We did.
We'll talk about it later. We got a bunch of questions about soccer-related things on the Twitch pitch, and I'm going to try to catch up quickly, guys, because I know there's a bunch that piled up. Byrne thinks we won't be able to sign anybody international. He thinks Campbell will get the opportunity. Velez 670 radio show in Buenos Aires, according to Thomas Jewin, is saying Giannetti will need surgery because of a detachment in the ACL graft. So it's going back to the surgical procedure he had when he tore his ACL in 2018. And yeah, I mean, if there's a detachment, then it's going to go at some point. If you're able to do it now, I would assume it's a much shorter recovery time than doing it after it tears again. And it's probably far better for him. So even though this stinks for him that this move doesn't happen, a big raise doesn't happen, it's better for him to find out now and be able to fix it and maybe have a move in a year than it to go on him. And you know, who knows? I mean, it could have went in practice. It could have went, early in the season. It could have went next year. We don't know. It's just a guessing game. But that's why you do these medical exams. And this is why you can't know this kind of stuff until you do the medical exam. This is the part of it. Burns says the issue with selling Bello is his injury history, not his quality. It'll slow it down. I think people will want to see him play more consistently. The quality, yeah, I don't know why there was any negativity towards Bello. Bello's one of the top young backs in the United States, and he's more established than Brian Reynolds was. But he's got to stay healthy. He had earlier on a series of injuries. He had surgery to repair it. He had a groin issue that just kept becoming an issue. He had surgery, and once he was back from that in late 2019, when he played for Atlanta United 2 in the build-up to going to the U17 World Cup, he has not had an injury of any length, period. So, he had that time in 18 through the surgery and through the recovery to what? It was like August of 19 when he was back on the field. So he had a year. Not even a full year, to be honest. Yeah, it was less than a year that he missed. So it's not a huge injury history. I think it feels bigger than it is. He's just got to continue to do what he's doing, and he'll benefit a ton from the style of play too, in my opinion. I think the outside backs are really going to thrive in this system. Ricky says, I think we're a couple windows away from Bello. Good to great year, winter of 21, summer of 22. I would bet winter of 21 is where things start getting talked about. If Reynolds went in the winter, this past winter, for what he went for, Bello should go for more next winter after another full year. And if you're talking more than what Reynolds got, then yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time, and you make that move, and you do it then. But we'll see. Four Card says, will we lose Barco, Sosa, and Ibarra to the Olympics and Robinson, Bello, Lennon? Question mark, question mark, question mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Not if the club doesn't want to, because you are not obligated to send guys to the Olympics. You can say no. That can be tough, because when players have the opportunity to go, they like to go. I don't know what that'll look like yet. But you will have the summer window to prepare if you get to that point. I don't think Robinson, Bello, and Lennon would all go. I think if Robinson does what we expect him to do this season, he will be called up, and you'll have to make a decision. Bello, maybe not, and it's far more justified to say no because he'll have another Olympic cycle. Lennon, it would be his last Olympic cycle. If he plays as well as I think he can in the system, he might get the call, and then that's going to be a tough decision as well. You do have Ronald Hernandez for a reason. Sosa and Ibarra, no. He has not been part of that group at all. He has just now, in the last couple months, been called into Argentina's U20s, the domestic training squad, back in December. Sosa played in the U20 World Cup. He would be closer to that possibility. It's possible. Ibarra would be an absolute long shot. I would say Robinson is the most likely, Lennon's next, and then Sosa. That would be my guess, because I think Argentina would probably go mostly domestic with a few young guys from other countries mixed in to that group. So Robinson, if they qualify for the Olympics, I think he will go. I really, really, truly think he will go. And this idea, I'm sorry, it's posturing. I get it because it feels like a standoff right now with the way all this is going down. How the three Atlanta United players get listed on the preliminary roster when they knew, because they already had statements ready to go, they knew they weren't going to go to camp. Seems like U.S. Soccer wanted to make something of it. I don't know that for a fact. Maybe it's a mistake. It's a really interesting one because you had statements ready to go that were not off the cuff from Jason Kreis in that media availability that came out a couple hours later. That was the party line. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. But to say that it's going to affect their chances of being called up to the Olympics, well, then U.S. Soccer and Jason Kreis, you should probably pick the best team you possibly can for the Olympics if you qualify. First, qualify. And no, Atlanta United should not be treated any differently than Barcelona. I don't see Serginho Dest. Than Chelsea. I don't see Christian Pulisic. Then Borussia Dortmund. I don't see Gio Reyna. So Atlanta United should be treated differently because they're MLS or because they're Atlanta United and they're not these other clubs? No, they shouldn't. They're preparing for a season. They're preparing for CONCACAF Champions League. They have a new manager. They're fully within their rights to say, no, we want these guys to be in our training camp. I think anybody saying otherwise is not being fair in the situation. I think for Christ to say that, or insinuate, because I think he's insinuating it more than anything, that not being allowed to be in the training camp could then hurt their chances to be part of the Olympic roster. If you qualify for the Olympics, you got to take the best team you can.
Yes.
And if you're going to play games like that, then you're going to hurt the team, and you probably shouldn't be in that role. And if it's a U.S. soccer thing, then you really need to rebuild this relationship, because there's always been talk about relationship building at the national team manager level with foreign clubs. Don't expect MLS clubs to just bend over and do whatever you want them to do whenever you want. No, they invest their money in these players as well. And MLS is not at a point where it's just a development situation for the national team. You know, I mean, Jurgen Klinsmann trashed MLS the whole time, and you allowed that to happen under U.S. Soccer's watch. So, just saying, this is a business. These players are paid by their clubs. That's what happens. So no, I think Robinson will be part of the Olympic squad if they qualify. If he's not for non-soccer reasons, there need to be some serious questions asked. Some really serious questions asked. Okay, so a lot of talk about the back and forth and this and that on the players being picked, et cetera, et cetera. Will said they on Extra Time Radio they talked about Sosa a bit. Again, you know, I would say like they shouldn't put Sosa in the best center or best defensive midfielders in the league yet, because he hasn't played in the league and he's only got 20 plus games. So they mention him. That's good. I mean, that's cool, but no, he shouldn't be there ahead of those guys yet. And Ibarra shouldn't be there ahead of those guys yet. Yes, the double pivot, Coco. I know, double pivot, because they signed guys. Just I'm telling you, look back at the lineups at Vélez and look back at what Heinze has said about why he doesn't like it that way. Because it's all about the wingers wide, the 9 here. You want the channels in between. You want to attack with 5. You want it to turn into a 2-3-5 kind of idea. 2 center backs, your outside backs pushed up and can go join the 5. Your holding midfielder, and then your 5. And it's not a true straight line of 5. It's your wingers, it's your central midfielders who can fill those channels, and it's your number 9. And it's very fluid. But that's what you want. If you do a double pivot, what does that do? It puts your attacking central midfielder in the same basic area as your striker. It doesn't give you the ability to fill those channels as easily. Guys have to shift, guys have to move. It doesn't give you as much of a balance. A 4-3-3 with one holding midfielder gives you the most balance. And that's what I think they will want to do typically. Also, most teams play a 4-2-3-1 in this league. They play a double pivot. So if they're going to have one attacking midfielder, why do you need a double pivot? Why do you need 2 to defend 1 there? You don't. So I know, I get it. It's the 4-2-3-1's the most common. You sign 2 guys in Sosa and Ibarra to do these things. I think if they play together, which they absolutely can, one's just going to push forward more. Or Sosa's going to be playing center back, which is also possible. That's it. I don't expect to see 2 center backs and 2 holding midfielders, a box, sitting in the middle of the field and taking away a player who can get forward. He's going to want to get as many players forward as possible. 4 players back is more than 3. So, I mean, I think he's going to want to get another guy forward. And that's going to open up a spot for a guy that I probably should have mentioned and somebody that I think can have a big year, Emerson Hyndman. I think Emerson Hyndman really fits the way that Gabriel Heinze wants to play really, really well as one of those central midfielders. It's not really a 10. It's an attacking 8. Again, think Manchester City. Think De Bruyne. Think Bernardo Silva. Think those guys who are the 8s in the channels. Think about that kind of role and think about what Emerson Hyndman did early last year. Now, he's got to be fit. We know second half of the year wasn't great for him. We also know he tested positive for COVID. We don't know if that was in effect. But if he is back to early 2020 form, he is the kind of player who can thrive in a situation like this and score goals and be a key figure. But I really do think it's going to be, if Ibarra is playing and Sosa is the holding midfielder, Ibarra will push higher up. And he did that out of a double pivot at Argentinos. He can do it. It can be done. You can play that idea and have different characteristics of it. If it's Hyndman, he's going to be probably jumping more forward and trying to score more goals. Ibarra might hang back a little bit more. That might free up space for Moreno. They're not robots here. They're not robots. It's not robotic. They're going to be able to play according to their characteristics. You look at the game you're going to play and say, well, we might need Ibarra, who is more comfortable dropping and who is more disruptive. Okay, we're going to have a lot of the ball here. Maybe we need Hyndman in this one because we're going to have the ball. We don't need to be as disruptive. That's what it's going to look like. Anyway, that's our random Gabriel Heinze 433 Modelo Heinze talk today.
What else is on your mind this morning?
Gustavo says, Bellows rumor is not weird. His agent is Wasserman. His name is McKinney and Sargent and a bunch more. No, what I'm saying, Gustavo, there's no rumor yet. The conversation about Borussia Mönchengladbach had no rumor attached to it. So to say that he's going to be sold in 6 months, there's no rumor. That's what I'm saying. The fact that could he go in 6 months or a year? Yes, he could. And they will try to sell him. In 2 years, he'll be gone in 2 years. Yeah. I think maybe that was a misunderstanding. Like, there hasn't been a credible rumor about him imminently going. That's where I'm at with Bello. I think he goes at the end of the season. I think a big money comes in. Some talk about Caicedo, some talk about Brighton. Yes, I'm totally with you, Modaflow. Caicedo should be playing, or at least getting the opportunity to. Caps Place, shoot me a whisper on, or a direct message on Twitter. Shoot me a whisper on Twitch, and I'll get you the Discord link. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Everybody's talking about Brighton and trashing it. Again, I said I would try to catch up quickly. Guzan will be a libero at times, according to Gustavo. I think he could do it. I think he can, too. I think he reads the game well. But, yeah, he's going to have to step out. And the other thing you'll see at times that will throw you is we're very used to seeing the holding midfielder drop between the center backs. At times, it'll look like Brad Guzan's playing that role. And that's honestly preferable because you get another player a little bit further up the field to progress the ball. At times, that'll happen. Brad, with the ball at his feet, will be something he'll have to be good at here. It's going to be essential. Bundesliga, Dalazon, maybe could be a spot to look at if you're looking for somebody on a loan or you're looking for somebody. It's just the purchases are tough. They're selling guys to other leagues and bringing in more money in general. So you're looking at a much lesser player there. You would probably, in my opinion, be looking at a South American player who went there that hasn't worked out, would be what you'd be trying to get out of the Bundesliga. I am skimming through as quick as I can because, man, y'all have a lot of conversation, which is great, and I love it. And when we get sidetracked, we lose it, and I want to include everybody as much as I can. So I'm going to skim a bit. Gustavo prefers Walks as a fullback, not a center back. He impressed me at center back last year. I was okay with it. I think you can do better, and if Walks doesn't take to the style quickly, it would not surprise me at all to see Sosa there. It really would not surprise me to see Sosa there. Because he's played it a fair bit. Not a ton, but he played it some with River. He can drop there, and I think he understands what Heinze's going to want. Heinze and managers of this ilk in general are comfortable moving a holding midfielder to center back. It's very, very common. Uncle's not liking the idea of going with what we have at center back due to the injury history at the position. Trying to think of the guys we have. Campbell hasn't had a major injury. Morales is young, so we don't know. Sosa hasn't had injuries. Robinson had the one, and it took him a while. Like Robinson, my question would be, first half of last year, Was it something to worry about, or was it just the randomness of a COVID year of him getting fit and being 100%? Walks, I think he got banged up last year, but I don't think it was anything weird. I think it was like a contact thing, if I remember.
Yeah, I think correctly. It was an ankle or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he got clipped or stepped on. So I know the injury history, like in general, esoterically, but with the guys you have, Robinson would be the one I don't know. I don't see the medical reports. I don't know what happened early last year. That was a little weird. So you'd want to make sure you're good there. I think you probably would love to have one more player, but if it's not a starter, you're looking for a different conversation than somebody, and maybe it's short term. Maybe it's for 6 months, maybe, or whatever, to the summer. Maybe it's a loan. I don't know. Yeah, one more body I'm fine with. Don't get me wrong. But it changes if you're going to go with what you have. You're looking for a depth piece. If you feel like you have to go get a starter, it's a little limited in what you can actually go get. Caranjel says Hector Moreno to Atlanta United. Experience, leadership, left-footed. Mexico best center back. Ooh, what kind of price tag are we talking about with that? What would you have to do to make that one happen? It has been brought up. We will take a look. He is in the Middle East. He is 33. He is valued at $2.75 million. He's under contract for another year. At Al Harafa, they got him on a free from Real Sociedad, so they didn't invest in him. Would they be willing to let him go? It's interesting. It's not crazy. It's not crazy. I'm not up on how he did at Al Harafa. You have to see that, but it's not a bad flyer to take. He's a veteran who could come in. You're not asking him for a ton. If you could then still go get a younger player if you decide, or it buys you more time with Campbell. It's not crazy. Their league is just either ended or just about to end. So he'd be able to come in and be in good fitness. It's not bad. Not a bad idea, Caranjel. Not a bad idea. Don't know who his representation is or if there's any combinations there. But, yeah, he's played 12 games this season, so he hasn't played a ton. That's a concern. You'd have to find out the injury history. You'd have to find out, if everything's good to go. But, yeah, not bad. Not a bad idea. A lot of kit talk. Lots and lots of kit talk. A lot of like for San Jose, Austin. Uncle being in Portland, loves the new Portland kit. Ragamuffin hates all the other kits except for Atlanta. Thomas doesn't like the second Austin kit. The colors around the Vancouver kit loops changed. Yeah, I was thinking just the general style, but yeah, there's some little tweaks. Galaxy's good. Ricky likes the Seattle one. Burn likes the Dash kit better than Dynamo because he likes Nike better. He says, of course, it's Nike. Let me be fair. Miami needs more pink. I agree, Ricky. Kefsey thinks the white crew kit's underrated. I didn't really like it. Sorry, it happens. It's fashion. We all have different takes on this. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. Burns says, to provide me with some hope, when do you think MLS teams will be able to make individual jersey deals with other manufacturers? When the money's right. Adidas is paying a lot of money for the whole league. I think when you break it down, divide it out across the league, it's around 2 to 3, maybe up closer to 4 per team. There are teams who could probably make more than that on the open market. Atlanta, Seattle, maybe Portland, maybe New York City, because New York City could lump it in with all the City Football Group teams. There's a few, but then there's some that, like, what would Colorado get? What would Kansas City get on their own? I don't know. What would San Jose get on their own? There's some who then would be struggling. And look, that's what leagues do around the world. But MLS is just structured in a all-for-one model. So they want to build up everybody as best as they can rather than see some teams flourish and others struggle to bring in that money. Now, if you wanted to just, and this would be my question, take a cut of everybody's equipment revenue of the deal to get to do the equipment, not like merchandise sales. So if let's throw random things in the air. Let's say Adidas said, okay, cool, I want Atlanta United. I'm going to give Atlanta $10 million. And then Nike said, well, I want Nike on the LA Galaxy. We had them before. I want to give them $10 million. And then somebody like Charlie comes in from Mexico and says, well, LAFC is a really good brand for us. We'll give them $10 million. But then Colorado is out struggling trying to find somebody, and they get, Joma for $500,000.
Yeah.
Do you take a certain percentage of the teams over a certain amount, put it into a pot, and divide it around the league? Do you make more money for everybody ultimately if you do something like that and let teams go do their own thing? And if teams need support, then maybe you try to do that at the league level to package some groups together. I don't know. Maybe you can. I'd be curious to see if that's possible. But the MLS mentality wants everybody to be as equal as possible on this. And Adidas has given them good money. Let's be fair to what Adidas is doing here. You cannot like the designs, you cannot like Adidas in general, but they're paying a lot of money, and they're funding the Generation Adidas program, and they're doing a lot on the development side. There's a lot of things on the academy side that factor into it. So Adidas is living up to their end of the bargain and what they're giving the money for. Does that mean maybe they're not being as adventurous with some of the kits? Could be. But it is a lot of money, and it has been a good deal for the league. Can it be better by putting it on the open market? That's what I would want to know, because I'm not 100% sure it could be.
Yeah. Breaking news sounder, please.
That's not it.
CF Montreal announced on Monday the appointment of Wilfried Nancy as head coach. Quoting CF Montreal sporting director Olivier Renard, after Thierry Henry left, we decided to trust him and give him the opportunity to continue the work we started last season with the same vision. It is also part of the club's philosophy to consider and promote our own, as we did in the past with fitness coach and video analyst. Nancy's been an assistant coach with the first team since January 7, 2016. Previously a coach at the club's academy for its inception in 2011.
Makes sense. I mean, you don't really have much of a choice right now because you have to move on now. You can't really wait to go out into the market. So this is where you're at because of the way it went down. So makes sense for Montreal. I get it. A lot of conversation about U.S. Olympic qualifying in the Twitch pitch. I'm with Bart. I think the U.S. absolutely should qualify. I know Paul Tenorio talked about the Costa Rican squad being really good. Look, MLS is a better league than the Costa Rican league. And the MLS roster has more guys that are playing at the first team level than the Costa Rican roster does. I don't know why you wouldn't say that the U.S. should qualify. I have to thoroughly disagree with that. Costa Rica can be good, and it's a good young generation coming through. We're seeing it with Alajuelense. They're bringing through a lot of good young players. This is good. They're going to be good. The U.S. should be better, and the expectation should be that they qualify. No question. Mexico should qualify. The U.S. should qualify. They should have qualified last time. They should have qualified the time before that. They should always qualify, especially now that more young players are playing in MLS than ever before. If they don't qualify, it's not on the talent anymore. You got to look at the coaching staff, and you got to look at how it's getting done. Now, you can look, they're not going to have everybody that they would like right now. Well, some other teams don't either. But where a Costa Rica and a Panama and a Honduras and countries like that could actually benefit is they don't have guys playing in Europe. They don't have guys playing with a lot of big-time clubs. The local clubs are going to be far more willing to say, well, we'll help the national team. We'll help the program. Take these guys. Go do a camp for a month. That will happen. But the talent, the U.S. should qualify. There's no way that you can look at the Costa Rican roster and what they're doing and look at the U.S. roster and say the U.S. should not qualify. They might lose, but they should not lose. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
They are the better program. And they have to start acting like it. Like
yes.
This idea that they're not good enough to beat the young Costa Rican side, no, that's just not good enough anymore. They should be winning these games. The group with Mexico, you might finish second. You might lose to Mexico. But then you should win what you need to do to get in. That's what it comes down to. Anyway, let's see. No word on the Bally Sports thingy being back on more platforms, Ragamuffin. I'm not expecting it. Carlitos Tevez is hanging out back in the Twitch pitch. Did you know that Maradona was Carlitos Tevez's friend and Carlitos Tevez gave him a goal? I did know that. You didn't know that.
That Carlitos Tevez? from the Twitch pitch gave Maradona
This is
a goal.
Carlos Tevez, John. How do you not know this? This is Carlos Tevez. He had a huge night last night, scored a goal. Now he's hanging out in our Twitch pitch.
Man, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, you weren't there for the watch-along when
No, I was not there for the Gambetta, no.
Anyway, Carlitos Tevez is hanging out with us now, and yes, he was very close with Diego Maradona, and he did give him a goal. That is accurate.
Oh, I forgot to ask at the beginning of the show. How was the UPSL weekend?
It was fun. I was gonna get there in a minute, but okay. We did the semifinals and the third place in the final. Jessica Charman hung out for the final. It went to penalties. Jenga Atlanta, the local team, ended up going 21-0-0. They won it on penalties. They played with 10 for a long way in the semi. They played with 10 for all of extra time and about 20 minutes in the final. Really dumb red card in the final. It's good soccer. There's some really good players at this level. The team from Arizona that got to the final, Olympians, both of their center backs I really liked. Their right back I really liked. Good side. They had a good forward who I think athletically would be a challenge to move up a level. He doesn't have the pace, but he has the soccer IQ. He's a good player. I really liked that team from Arizona. They were fun to watch. The team from Massachusetts, Brockton, incredibly fluid, incredibly risk-taking the way they played. They gave Jingo a tough time in the semi on Friday night. And the team from Austin, Texas, they had some players that were good too. And they had a first-year coach. It was fun, and the production was fun. It was a company from Argentina, Vetter Sports Media, who came up and did the game. The guys, the producers, were from Argentina, so it was a different kind of style. It was a ton of replays and really fast cuts and great timing, incredible timing on dropping the replays in. So I loved it. I've watched enough games now in the Argentine League that I kind of got a feel for it fast. But I loved it. It was great. And they were really good guys. My Maradona jersey back here, when I was talking to them and they were blown away that I was talking about Defensa, and then we were talking about the game from yesterday. We were talking about the game Saturday night with Huracan and San Lorenzo, and we were just talking Argentine football. They gave me a Maradona jersey, and they also gave me the Clarín and Olé papers from the day after Maradona died.
Wow.
Great guys. Vetter Sports Media. They were really, really cool. Hope to do more stuff with them. I hope they do more work in the U.S. They were outstanding. So it was a lot of fun. Good games, a lot of goals before the final. Really good level of play. It was a good event over at Silverbacks Park, and thanks to Christian and everybody at the UPSL for having me on it, and thanks for making people available for us for the show last week. Hope everybody had a chance to catch that ahead of the finals, and hope people watched. I think we had between 2,000 and 3,000 people watching the stream all over the world yesterday. I'm not sure what the Spanish language stream was doing. They actually had Argentine announcers on that. They were beaming the feed back to Argentina, and they were calling it from Argentina on the stream, and I was sitting in the stadium watching it at Silverbacks Park.
Yeah, very, very cool. I got to go out there myself for the semifinals a little bit and got to see what was going on there. So it was a fun weekend, and it was good to see quality soccer here in town. And last week, able to tell the stories leading into it and catching up with all the coaches and the commissioner for the UPSL. So it was thanks to them for all the help that they gave us last week and putting on a great product on the weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Do we have any other tweets we need to hit before we go?
One.
What do we have?
From Nathan. He says he's seen Hansi Flick being coy about Erling Haaland. The only Bayern Munich I've ever known is the one who poaches the best Bundesliga player, rinse and repeat. How did Klopp and Dortmund win back-to-back a decade ago? Is it like a Simeone Atleti situation this year? Maybe, with playing well coupled with other big teams being down.
No, I mean, Klopp did a great job with Dortmund when he went back-to-back before. But, yeah, Bayern's going to win the league title more often than not in Germany. And it's not just because they buy guys from Dortmund or buy guys from other clubs. They do. They haven't done as much of that lately. Bern had a good thread on the Discord this weekend about it. I think the last guy was Lewandowski that they bought from Dortmund. They will buy guys from other teams in the Bundesliga, but they're also buying guys from other places too. It's just hard. I mean, it's just the financial weight of the teams. I mean, Dortmund is not Bayern. Nobody is. RB Leipzig maybe could be, and they're trying to be. We'll see if they can be for an extended period of time. But things do have to fall your way to beat Bayern. Just like in other leagues, they have to fall your way if you're not Real Madrid or Barcelona, if you're not the big six in England. I mean, Leicester did it once. It's not like they're doing it all the time. In Italy, I mean, Inter, if they win it this time, it's going to be the first time Juventus doesn't win it in a long, long time. We talked about it with Scotland earlier. You know, like you have leagues that it's just to win from outside of the main group, it's incredibly difficult. So Klopp pulled it off with Dortmund. It's a credit to him, but it was not something they could sustain over a long period of time. That's just the hardest thing about it. What I'm surprised about right now with Klopp at Liverpool is that they should be able to sustain it for a longer period of time. They needed to refresh the squad, and they didn't. And that's a big mistake, and it's costing them. They're going to have to now. And, you know, there is a question. A lot of people do think that Klopp is not somebody who can be in the same place for a long period of time. And Liverpool, it took him time to build the team up to this iteration of it. So can he keep this iteration going? No, I think we see it this year. Do they rebuild? And that doesn't mean they stink, but do they rebuild, reload next year and Klopp stays to do that? Or do they say, you know what, we want somebody else to do this? They shouldn't, in my opinion, but he's such a hard guy to read. And this year's been so weird that maybe he does want to leave. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe they do decide that we don't want to move forward here. Steven Gerrard is not the answer based off of one title at Rangers, in my opinion. They need somebody who would be able to continue what has been built. And I think that would be Julian Nagelsmann. I think he would be the obvious guy to turn to that would put his own spin on it, but would be able to not scrap everything that has been instilled in the club.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
No, I think that also it starts with sending Mo Salah on his way. If you're seeing what his agent is doing in the Twitter sphere, and you're seeing...
If you didn't see that, what did his agent do in the Twitter sphere?
After the removal of Salah from the match, and Salah had pouty face as he was being removed and pouty face as he was sitting on the sidelines, his agent, after the match, posted a full stop emoji, and that was like it. And so when you have agents doing things like that, and Mo Salah acting the way that he's acting, I would just send Salah on his way, get what you can into the marketplace for him and rebuild with that, and try to have that as part of your rebuild, or reload, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's more of a reload. A lot of talk about could Liverpool get Mbappe. That's the thread now on the Twitch pitch. They could. The whole idea of the wage structure and all that, Liverpool needs to make a decision. Are they going to act like they did in the past, and we're going into the 70s and 80s, probably more of the early 80s, where they were the biggest club in the world? Are they going to act that way? And if they are, then they're going to have to say, yes, Jordan Henderson or Trent Alexander-Arnold or whoever might be knocking on the door saying, why are you paying Mbappe so much? He's one of the best players in the world. And we're paying him market rate for one of the best players in the world. If you don't like that, either perform better and you get a better contract, or we'll find you somewhere else to go. Like, that's how it goes. Do other players at Barcelona complain about Messi's wage? Well, they probably shouldn't, because he's put them on his back for so long.
Yeah.
Did people complain about Ronaldo's wage at Real Madrid, at Juventus? I mean, elite guys are going to get paid like elite guys. And if Liverpool doesn't want to do that, then they're not going to be here, because it's harder to do without mega superstars. It just is. It just is. It's harder to win without the major superstars of the world. If you want to play in that sandbox, you got to pay. And they should, if they have an opportunity to get Mbappe, they should pay what they need to pay to get him. Mm-hmm. And manage it. And manage it with the rest of the squad. As John pounds on the keyboard about something. Jeez. Did
Sorry,
you dump
question in the Twitch pitch about current stats for who's leading in goals scored.
Okay. Burn says about the Bayern Dortmund thing. Lewandowski was the last guy in 2014. Hummels is a weird situation. He went Bayern Dortmund. That doesn't count as poaching. If anything, it went the other way. Gustavo, thank you. He said it was very proud that Jason could work with Argentine pros so they could meet an American soccer journalist with enough talent to be an Argentine broadcast. It was just fun to get the style. Like, that was what I liked with the replays. And I told Jess before the final, I'm like, this is going to be really different. Like, it's going to feel like a lot, but once you get a few minutes in, you'll get a feel for it quickly because they felt the game. You know, like they knew when to go to a replay, they knew when not to. They had them ready fast. It was in and out. It never interfered with live action. It was great. I loved it. And this was done this was a skeleton crew because they came up from Argentina to do it. I mean, they weren't dealing with mega TV cameras either, and it looked like a great broadcast. I was really pleased with it. I was really happy with it. Talk about Montreal. Ricky says, glad Montreal didn't overthink this hire. We didn't have the minority coach number diminish. Yeah, I mean, they hired the right guy. I want the minority coaching number to increase because people are quality. And that is something U.S. soccer needs to focus on. That's my biggest issue with that situation. And it's across the board. And I think in the soccer world, it's a far broader question about minorities because there's a lot in this conversation. U.S. soccer needs to be more thoughtful about coaching development for blacks, for Latinos, for Asians, for every potential group to bring them into the mix because there's so many different groups that are on the outside looking in or the fees are ridiculous and they're not able to do it. I see it in the Latino leagues all the time, or great coaches in the local Latino leagues who don't go through the U.S. soccer licensing because they can't afford to. Or they don't have a club who is doing it for them, or they don't know what's being done because it's not being marketed towards them. It's the same in the black community. It's the same in the Asian community, which is another growing community here that needs to be a bigger part of American soccer. It doesn't just happen where there's guys who are ready to coach at the top level. Like the idea about the pro coaching license, I get it. I understand. Like there's not enough. There's not enough black men who have passed that license. There's not any black women who have passed that license. That needs to change. But it doesn't change just by talking about that license. It's the A license underneath it. It's the B license underneath it. It's the C underneath it. That's where it's got to change. They've got to come up through the ranks, and I think the fastest route to this is MLS, the Black Players for Change movement, NWSL, their counterpart, have to make it a priority for their players to get coaching licenses while they are playing. Off-season coaching courses need to be a priority. That is the easiest route. And then there also has to be a community outreach into communities to get coaches licensed and moving through the process. There needs to be a scholarship process. There needs to be all this. I think the pricing is way out of whack with the reality, especially now that we've learned you can do so much more of it virtually. You don't have to have guys take 2 weeks off of work to go to a coaching course. It can be more virtual with very specific times and dates to go do things. And they can do them more regionally too. U.S. soccer has to be more thoughtful about bringing more people into the coaching community, and then you will see more diversity at the pro level with coaches. But it's got to start from the bottom. It has to, and they have to do a better job with it. And same for referees. Everything we talked about with coaches has to be the exact same for referees, 100%, because you need more diversity in the core of both, and you need more in both, period. You need more highly trained coaches. You need more highly trained referees. You need more diversity in the pool for both. It has to happen. It has to. It has to. Modiflow is shocked you know how to use the Twitch pitch.
I have in separate windows over on the desktop. I've got the Discord up. I've got the Twitch pitch up. I have all of the research windows up, so I can clickety-clack at the same time that I can allegedly try to send links to Discord and places like that.
I can make noises and throw you all off. I can do that. How about that?
There you go.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
Is that fun? I can try to have myself pop in it from time to time. Ricky, Michael Encian, yes, he there was one before Michael Encian. There was a little bit of a back and forth about this, I think, in the initial reporting. There's somebody else, Robin Fraser. That's who it was. Somehow he was forgotten that he had gotten the pro license in one of the earlier courses. So I think that was at least corrected in the big conversation. Jeff Reuter had posted that on Twitter over the weekend, if I remember right. It was a busy weekend, so sorry if I don't remember the day it came up. But Robin Fraser had that first. The fact that there's two is crazy. There's only, for one, to understand too, though, on the pro license, there's only like 30 to 50. I'm not sure how many iterations they've done of the pro license. There's not many because it's new. I want to say maybe 3 classes, maybe 4. Each class is around 20. So I guess you could have up to 80 people with the pro license. There's a lot of coaches who've been doing this for a long time who are at the pro level who don't have the pro license because it's new. But it has to start from below that. It can't just be about the pro license and having more diversity there. It has to be the A, the B, the C. And then, as Soccer for Good OG points up, Robin Fraser is American because, he played for the U.S. men's national team. He's a citizen. I believe he has Jamaican heritage, but I don't know for sure. That's where all of this gets complicated in terms of what diversity means. It's not a straight line anymore, and that's good. I will always, always, always remember the event we did with Soccer in the Streets at the Center for Civil and Human Rights ahead of the Gold Cup semifinals. And we had a panel, which was amazing that it all came together the way it did. And we had Darren Eales on the panel, and we had Brad Friedel on the panel, and we had, I know the other one I'm about to say, I'm trying to remember who else. Mike Geddes on the panel from Street Football World at the time. Stuart Sharp from the U.S. Paralympic national team, which was great to have him on the panels because that's another element of diversity. But we had Brianna Scurry on the panel. And Brianna Scurry said something that always stuck with me because in 2015, one of the big conversations was the U.S. women's national team being less diverse than it had been in the past. Which is still a discussion in the U.S. women's national team. But a lot of it depends on how you want to define diversity. And Brianna Scurry pushed back on it in this panel saying, well, actually, it's very diverse because this was maybe the most out panel or the most out national team that you had ever seen from an LGBTQ perspective, which is another element of diversity. What was one of the major things that you saw from the Women's World Cup in 2015? Abby Wambach kissing her wife after winning the title. That was something that was not common at that point. So you have to think big picture in diversity. And U.S. Soccer has to be better about all aspects of diversity. But there's a lot of different aspects that they have to be better at with. It's not easy. It's complicated. There's a lot of past history that gets in the way, 100%. You can still do better. And for U.S. Soccer to fix that issue, which people will put on MLS, which MLS needs to be out in front of this too, and they need to continue to do what they've been doing and do more, as do all the professional leagues, USL, NISA, UPSL, NPSL at the semi-pro and amateur level. They need to do it too. They need to be thoughtful about this and intentional about it. Because it doesn't just change from a statement. It doesn't just change from a wish. It changes from the work that's put in to do it intentionally. And the fact that you don't have many coaching courses in Spanish, it's not good enough. The fact that U.S. Soccer doesn't do enough to reach out into the African-American community and to reach out into all the different ethnic communities in this country on a regular basis. It has to change because you don't have that pro license number change out of thin air. It changes because you have people coming up through the system either as players who then get licensed or as community coaches, because they should be able to have the opportunity to move up and become a professional coach. It shouldn't just be that you were a former pro player so you can be a pro coach. That's it. It's far more likely you will, because you've been there and you've done that and you understand the game. If you are Ariel Holan, who won a Copa Sudamericana, came from handball. Johannes would probably love Ariel Holan. Or did he come from handball or did he come from field hockey? It might have been field hockey. But he came out of a completely different world to be a high-level coach. He's now at Santos. That can happen here. It can happen with somebody who comes up through the youth ranks. It can happen for somebody who, tore their ACL at 15 and wasn't able to become a professional player, but they started coaching at 22. I think it's field hockey, Johannes.
It was field hockey.
Yeah, I was trying to give you a shout there, but it was field hockey. That's still pretty cool. But yeah, that's where he came from, and he won Sudamericana with Barcos Independiente. Robin Fraser was born in Jamaica. Thank you, Jill. I thought so. I thought I remembered that. I thought he had the decision to be able to play for the U.S. or Jamaica at the time. Anyway, look, we're not going to solve this thing overnight, but it's not going to happen from just wishing it either. I really want U.S. soccer to be more out in front of this. And MLS, NWSL, USL have to push because they've got the platform to push. They've got that platform to really push hard on these things. But don't leave the folks out in the community either who didn't have the opportunity to become professional players out. If we've got somebody who started in basketball and then started becoming a coach in soccer at 20 and did like what Jose Mourinho did, who didn't play at a high level, barely played as a professional, one of the greatest coaches we'll ever see. We can do that here too. Like this country in terms of coaching education in sport across the board is amazing. There's no reason why it can't be the same in soccer. So that's what we're working on. But we got to be intentional about it, U.S. Soccer. As a federation, we've got to be intentional about it. Anyway, there's your soapbox for the day. It happens from time to time. What else do we have, John? What else have we not talked about that we have to talk about? What is there?
No, well, I mean, we're caught up on the Twitters.
What do you have to say, sir?
What do I have to say?
What do you have to say?
I think Neil Warnock might get in a little trouble.
What did Neil Warnock do?
Neil Warnock, after the Middlesbrough loss to Swansea on the weekend, felt somewhat aggrieved. And if you were watching the game on the Plus, he spent a lot of time after the final whistle trying to get into the officiating crew's faces about his aggrievedness. And came with finger pointing, gesticulating to the point to where security in suits were in between Neil Warnock and his finger pointing toward the officials.
Finger pointing towards the officials.
And plus elevated vocal range. So after
he said a bunch of mean things to the officials. That doesn't sound like anything too crazy.
Well, but then in his post-match, he said this about the officials, and specifically center ref Gavin Wood.
Okay.
They're all heroes. They all want the celebrity status. It's wrong. My lads have been let down by a team of officials who weren't good enough today. It's not right. Then he added, I don't know if it's Steve Cooper, the manager of Swansea, his opposition on the day, Cooper's dad who's influencing this. He must have all the numbers, but joking apart, they can't keep having decisions like that.
Well, hold on. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
It was a match at the Liberty?
No. Why would Steve Cooper's dad have numbers? What are you talking about?
I will get the context there.
Steve Cooper's dad used to run the Referees Association, if I'm not mistaken. Like, let's not just throw Steve Cooper's dad has numbers out. I don't know what that means. Like, why is a coach's dad pressuring referees? Because he would allegedly know them, is what Neil Warnock is hinting at, which is worse than anything else that has been said with this.
Yes.
He is alleging that a manager's father who has worked with referees in his lifetime
former top flight official
would be influencing how referees call matches for his son's team. That is the allegation that Neil Warnock made. Neil Warnock should be suspended for the rest of the season because that is way beyond the pale. That is way beyond what Ole should have been suspended for. It is way beyond anything else that I have heard a manager say about referees in a long time. To say that the guy that just beat us, his dad was pressuring the referees, not just in this game, but just in general.
Yeah.
Because he's a former top flight official. That's horrendous.
Yes.
Neil Warnock should be suspended, mocked, trashed, all of this. And he probably won't be.
No.
That is referee abuse on such a high level. You are questioning the integrity not just of the referees in that game, but of every game involving Swansea all season long. That's as bad as it gets.
Yeah. And the laughing it off and saying that you're joking about it, it's not funny. And
No,
you need
that's not a
need
joke.
to get absolutely suspended like a metric crap ton of games and find a metric crap ton of dollars.
It's awful. That's seriously one of the worst things I've heard. Good job, Neil Warnock.
Yeah. And the reason that I'm wearing, for those watching on the Twitch pitch today, I'm wearing the Wigan athletic kit, is that they may be out of administration. They might have found an owner. Tell me if you've heard this before.
We've heard it before.
Yes. A deal agreed to around £3 million to pay their bills in full. A British group of advisors with a Gibraltar-owned firm with ties to Manchester, England, called Phoenix 2021. So they have apparently put up the £3 million and are looking to take over Wigan, who is fighting to stay afloat in League One. And if you're looking for a very, very tight relegation scrap right now, League One is the place for you. 7 teams separated by 4 points at the bottom of the table in League One. 4 of those teams will drop by the end of it all.
4 of 7, huh?
4 of 7 separated by 4 points after the weekend.
That's pretty tight.
Yeah. So there you go. That was what was on my my list this morning from the lower divisions.
I love that what's on John's list is the lower divisions in England, really leaning into the English snob gimmick that John's got going here. Yeah, Wigan is on my mind. You had the Madrid derby, you had Der Klassiker, you had the Manchester derby. Wigan is on John's mind.
And did you see that LL Cool J is now apparently a Leeds supporter?
I think he posted a picture of a jacket, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a kit. He's got a jersey with his name on the back.
Okay. Did they send it to him?
I don't know if they sent it to him or if he got it, but or if he bought it on his own. But there's just this unveiling of LL Cool J on the back of a Leeds jersey.
I'm not going to go so far to say LL Cool J is a Leeds supporter until he starts breaking down Bielsa's press at some point.
There you go.
Or at least just saying something about the team rather than just posting a picture. That doesn't necessarily make you a supporter yet. I'm gonna slow down a little bit.
Wearing the kit.
Since you're the League One snob, who are top of League One right now? Kefsey asks.
Oh, give me a second and I'll tell you.
Shouldn't you know this, John? This is in your wheelhouse.
Well, no, I'm more focused on the relegation battle because AFC Wimbledon is involved in it.
The negativity of it. You don't focus on who's actually doing well. You focus on
I focus on who I have a vested interest in. It's Hull and Peterborough. They are in the top 2 spots right now. They're in the automatic promotion spots, 2 points ahead of the Imps of Lincoln City, Sunderland, Doncaster Rovers, and Portsmouth, who are 2 points ahead of Accrington, Stanley, and Ipswich Town. The 3, 4, 5, and 6, that is your promotion playoff.
Since we're leaning into gimmicks, you go into the lower divisions in England. I will go to South America with some updates, and we'll dig deeper into these gimmicks on soccer over there this evening at 7 o'clock on the Twitch and on the app. Argentina, I have not seen this go through yet, but it is imminent. There will be a managerial change at Newell's Old Boys. 5 losses and 6 in 2021. The other game's a draw. That's not good. Frank Kudelka is reportedly negotiating his exit, and it looks like Herman Burgos, El Mono, formerly Diego Simeone's assistant at Atleti, will be getting his opportunity in his first managerial job. Ricky, we talked about Daryl Dike and Barnsley. I don't know if he stays at Barnsley, but I don't think he comes back to Orlando. If Barnsley gets promoted, I think he stays. If they don't get promoted, I think somebody else buys him. But I don't think he plays in Orlando again. That's where I'm at. Daryl Dike is not going to play for Orlando again. Couch Sports Football is hanging out. What's up, Couch? Hope you're doing well.
You hanging out on the couch?
Probably. I mean, if you have a nice couch, you should hang out on the couch, right? Like, it's good. My gaming chair is my couch, I guess, at this point. Oh, no worries, Ricky. So South American update. Looks like you're going to see Burgos take over at Newell's. He will be a fun watch. Really thoughtful guy, although most people will think of some of the crazy antics he has had on the touchline as Simeone's, I don't know, at times enforcer, it looked like. Simeone doesn't need an enforcer. For him to have an enforcer, the enforcer is pretty tough. Now, I want to see what Burgos does as a new manager. So I'll be keeping an eye on Newell's, and obviously with Franco Escobar there, once he is healthy, we'll be curious to see how that goes. Talked about Boca, the 7-1 win last night, which is madness. Velez just fell apart. Last time Boca won 7-1 on the road was in 2006 at San Lorenzo. River plays tonight against Argentinos Juniors. Next Sunday is the Super Clásico, and we will have a Gambetta special
Classico.
during the Super Clásico
Super
for River
Clásico.
and Boca. Thank you, John. In Brazil, the Copa do Brasil is finally done. The Brazilian 2020 season is finally done. Palmeiras won it. They beat Grêmio 3-0 on aggregate, which means Grêmio has to go from a game on Sunday in the Copa do Brasil final where they lose it. That dumps them into the qualification rounds for Copa Libertadores, and they play on Tuesday. Good times. They're playing a smaller club from Peru, I believe. And then they might be playing Ayacucho. Then they might be playing, if things go the way we would expect, Independiente del Valle out of Ecuador, who is in a rebuild. IDV has not started well. They have a new manager. They do not have Moises Caicedo anymore. They do not have Angelo Preciado anymore. They do not have Gabriel Torres anymore, the Panamanian striker. They got a lot of new faces, and it's been kind of rough. They play Unión Española of Chile first. They got to get through that. They normally should. This iteration of IDV, I don't know.
They're an underdog right now.
Yeah, because they're starting out really bad. If they get through that, then it's Grêmio. So it's going to be hard for them to get into the group stage. But this is always a team you have to pay attention to because, as Tim Vickery wrote, there's a great World Football newsletter that I will find the link to subscribe, and I'll send it out on my Twitter. I think I have before. It's a great read. Tim Vickery. It's a lot of the guys from the BBC World Football show. Tim Vickery went into some detail on IDV, and they are lucky even in Ecuador because they're not Barcelona of Ecuador. They're not Emelec. They're not these major clubs that have these massive expectations who have to go sign like the 30-year-old guy who can come in and play, who's a big star. They can just develop guys, and if they have a bad year, they have a bad year. It's okay. They obviously want to do well because they want to sell guys because that's their whole process is develop guys, sell them. Develop guys, sell them. It funds the club. But it is process for them. So this might be a bad year in terms of process because it's a bunch of new guys all at once. But IDV is always a team to watch because of what they try to do. And I'm with Bernd. If it gets to beat Grêmio and Independiente del Valle, that is a watch. That is always a good watch. just because of the approach of Independiente del Valle. Always a fun team to watch. Couch is not on a couch. He's at work.
Had to ask.
Yeah, sometimes we got to find out. Couch, by the way, does really good watch-alongs with him calling it. It's a lot of fun. I've had a chance to pop in on a couple. Really good stuff. So predominantly Premier League, Couch. I'm not sure if you're doing Champions League or anything this week. Let people know. Put it in the Twitch pitch. Put it in the chat. Let people know what you have coming up so they can check you out for sure. Sean Vergara is asking if there's no Gareth Bale talk today. Didn't Jose say something about the mental demons have gone away or something for Gareth Bale?
I'll grab it real quick.
Some nonsense. Look, if he's healthy, it's good. I mean, it's just him being healthy has been a challenge beyond belief. I don't know what the deal is with Gareth Bale. I don't get it at all anymore. I do not understand him. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't know what's been going on. It's very odd.
And let's see. Gareth Bale. Let's see what Jose is saying. Talks about how they've scored 100 goals this season, which for a very defensive team, a very negative team, is not bad.
Okay, John, it took 2 clicks. Gareth Bale is over the psychological scars, says Jose Mourinho. He had psychological scars that led to a slow start to life back at Tottenham. He is over them now. I'm very happy. He's a fantastic player, and I'm so happy to work with a player like him, said Mourinho. Mourinho went on to say, nobody challenged him. We just supported him. I found psychological scars. When you have a couple seasons with lots of injuries, I think it's not about the muscular scars, but the psychological scars. That brings fears and instability. That's actually a really good point from Jose Mourinho. Yeah. So there's a moment when you are working very well and everyone around you is giving everything we can give. There's a moment where that psychological barrier has to be broken, and he broke it. It was him, not us. We just supported him. That's really good stuff out of Jose Mourinho. It said that Bale needs to enjoy the positive talk with everybody that was doubting his first half of the season. Now, he also said it's up to Real Madrid whether Bale could stay next season. I think Real Madrid would love for that to happen. I don't know what they would be looking for financially out of it, but yes, they would be very happy with that because they want to cut money wherever they could to go get potentially Mbappe and Haaland. I think they're really going to try to get Haaland first because I don't think they're going to get Mbappe. Bale said, I'm feeling good. A lot of games are coming thick and fast, so it's about recovering and getting ready for the next one. I wouldn't have come if I didn't think I could contribute. It's taken time, but that's the reality of football. My body, I feel good now. Hopefully I can keep this form going. The physical thing is real, and we joke a lot about Gareth Bale. It's real. I don't know how much of a factor it was in all of this, but it's absolutely real. You have a bunch of injuries. You don't question, or you do question yourself. You don't feel comfortable. You don't feel confident. That's absolutely true. And if Mourinho feels like he's past that now, if Bale feels like he's past that now, then we need to see a lot of Gareth Bale if he's healthy because he's been really good. If it's that simple that it's just it took time, he's there now, he feels like he's back to normal, then great. And long term, if he feels most back to normal at Tottenham and they can find an arrangement for him to stay, they should do it. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And right now, if he's the hot hand and you're trying to get up the table into the European spots, whether it's Europa League or outside chance of Champions League, whatever, you ride the hot hand. Bale's a hot hand right now. You ride him.
All right, that's going to do it for us. I know we're really close to that 3-hour mark. Like I said, we're getting there. We'll do it. We're going to do 3-hour shows. Y'all know this by now. You've talked me into it. We will be adding other components to those, so stay tuned. Once all the seasons in the United States are underway, we will have some dedicated time for USL League One, some dedicated time for USL Championship. That'll be part of those. It will happen. We will do it. Sean, I called 2 games yesterday, and one went into extra time and penalties. My throat is killing me right now, and we're doing another show at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
So give me a little bit of time to drink some tea.
Let the man have
afternoon.
his lunch and his mate.
Seriously, give me some time. Great conversation on the Twitch pitch. Love when I can't keep up with it because it's so much. Because if we can be just a place for you guys to hang out and talk soccer and talk life and talk food and talk whatever, that is awesome. The community is a very, very
banned from the food channel on the Discord.
You are banned from the food channel on the Discord. You cannot put your opinions there. They have to stay in the nonsense channel. Thomas Joanne is offering his help if it is needed to balance out the picks for soccer over there and give scores, since John is afraid of doing math this afternoon. Thomas Joanne is available.
Oh, I'm not afraid of doing math. It just might not be the right math.
It should take like a minute. But Thomas Joanne is there to help you if you need it, John. Throwing that out there. One other thing, real quick, because I see it and we'll dig into it tonight. UEFA suspended the fourth official who was accused of racism during the PSG Istanbul Başakşehir match. A while back, you might have forgotten about it. That fourth official has been suspended by UEFA. The Guardian has an article. We'll dig deeper into it tonight. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being part of the community. Thanks to new viewers and old viewers and everything in between. Y'all are great. We'll see you at 7 o'clock for soccer over there. Mucha plata, y'all. And yes, we got to 3 hours.
Mucha plata, y'all.